interested in coming up to the mic, we're doing like a prove me wrong, change my mind. Andrew, are you ready? Huh? Okay. All right, David, you're ready?
Yeah.
All right, and what's your name? Joshua. All right, Joshua's going to kick us off here, and you are a member of Turning Point, yes? Yeah. Yeah. All right, so we've got a QR code up on our screen for anyone watching on the live stream. And if you feel so moved to donate and help support us growing our National Ground Game chapters across college campuses, and that allows us to bring the Unfuck America tour to a college campus near you. All right, Joshua.
All right, that's all right. Sure. All right, hello. And your name is David, right?
Yeah, I can barely hear you.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better. That's better.
Okay, first of all, thank you for coming and giving us the opportunity to come talk to you.
Of course.
I'll be very open about this from the beginning. I am a pro-life Christian. I believe that, scientifically speaking, the development of a genetically distinct human organism begins at the moment of fertilization. So really then the question becomes personhood, right? Legal personhood, what we assign personhood to. Oxford Languages defines a person as a human being defined as a individual. So from the moment of fertilization, it is genetically distinct, and it's a member of the human species. So it's a person by definition. My question to you has to do with fetal homicide laws and whether or not you believe those are consistent with the pro-choice stance. So in about 38 states of the Union, if I'm correct, there are fetal homicide laws, which essentially states, that if a murderer, kills a pregnant woman, that essentially they could be charged for killing the woman and the fetus, right? Do you agree with those laws? And if so, how do you reconcile it logically with the pro-choice stance?
Wait, just to quickly understand, do you support Donald Trump?
Not really.
Okay. Did you vote for him in the last election?
No, sir.
Okay, got you. Well, I think even though believing that the laws are just, I don't necessarily believe that affirms this idea that this individual within the woman is in the same standing as the woman that was murdered, for example. And typically, when there is like a huge legal consensus, you're going to see this across all jurisdictions. It's not really what's happening. So if the individual wanted to take that child to term, and for that to be stripped away, as well as the life of the mother, I think maybe that can be an additional charge, and that's typically how it operates. But to believe that it's right and it should be done, I don't think necessarily affirms this idea that that person is now granted, that fetus is now granted personhood, which is, I'm assuming, what you're going to get to, right?
I mean, by the definition of personhood, like, what would you define as a person then? Because I'm citing Oxford Languages, which is considered one of the most credible dictionaries in the world. I mean, it's an individual human being. It is a genetically distinct from the moment of conception, and it's a member of the human species. So I would argue, how do you define personhood?
Yeah.
And if a fetus is not a person, then what is it?
I think the actual important question here, I feel like I understand what you're trying to get at, right? Like, I mean, I think I didn't actually 100% hear you. I just want to clarify. The original question you asked is whether or not, like, we think that those laws are okay.
Do you believe that laws where a person who murders a pregnant woman and, obviously the fetus dies as well, and that person is charged for 2 murders, do you think those laws are just? And if you do think they are just, how do you reconcile that with the pro-choice position?
Yeah, I think they're just under. This is going to be the most boring answer you're ever going to get. I think. Yeah, I'm sorry. I think that they're just, the laws like that are just under certain circumstances. I think sometimes they're okay. For instance, like if you have a murderer that kills a woman and she was like 40 weeks pregnant. I shouldn't have said such a high number. I don't even know the math on that one. But if you have like a 9 month pregnant, or 9 months pregnant lady, then sure. I think those laws are just I'm going to take it all the way back. I think the actual. Where you'd actually find the answer to this question is like where you assign moral weight to the fetus in that case. And And if you want to run down it, we can run down it, but we're just going to run straight down the consciousness line of argumentation, because that is, I mean, I think that is just the correct answer here of when we should assign moral weight to a being, right? So anytime after, like, this is going to be a confusing answer and a boring answer, but I think for sure anytime after that, like 16 to 20 week, where whenever the brain parts are present to for a being to have a conscious experience, then I would say those laws are pretty much always just in those circumstances, because like definitionally, even like on my own definition, you are killing two people in that case, right? Or you're killing two people that deserve moral weight. We should assign them moral weight to those people. So those laws are always going to be just in those circumstances. I think the more interesting question, probably what you'd want to talk about, is like before, like if it happens with like a 10-week pregnant, or a woman that's like 10 weeks pregnant, what would we say?
Yeah, so it's to my understanding that you assign moral worth to human conscious experience, as you've said. I've listened to a lot of debates where that's the case. I don't think we're going to get agreement on that, but my question to you is, why do you assign moral value to the conscious experience?
Because I think that everywhere we look, that seems to be the thing that we care about as like protecting as humans. Like when we're talking about like laws like this right now, we're like talking like in the vein of like harm laws governing harm, right? Or murder and assault, whatever those things. Like the thing that we are trying to protect is that conscious experience. Like any other, any other time we have like that conscious experience is not present, we seem to just not care as much. And I think there's something there. There's like an intuitive feeling that that's the thing that we care about. So in this, it's that transfers over to pregnancy and abortion and all those things. Like that's the thing I care about. So before the brain parts are even formed yet, to where I know you're not having a conscious experience, because it literally is not possible, then I'm not going to assign moral weight to that person. That's why I'm okay with abortion, before that time period. I clarify, what you're trying to get at is like, why am I still okay with the laws even though I do not assign, like I wouldn't assign moral weight to the thing?
I think I actually kind of see what you're getting at there, but here's where I would turn to from that, right? So you value this subjective conscious experience, right? We know from science that like animals, for example, they can feel pain, they can express emotion to a certain extent. So my question is, while some animals can have that subjective conscious experience, why is it that we value the humanity in addition to that? What about humanity is unique and worthy of moral value?
Well, in the case of, I don't know if we would say we don't value any other types of like consciousness. We do, like, love my dog. Like we value dogs. What you're getting at is like, why not the same, like to the same degree? Why is humanity special? I think it just comes down to like, it's a thing like me. Like I know what it's like to be a human being. I could never tell you, never in a million years could I like describe to you what it is like to be a pig. I have no idea, and I'll never know. I never could know, but I know exactly what it's like to be a human being. I might not know what it's like to be exactly you, but you're like, it's a class of thing. So I care about human consciousness because I know what it's like to be a human who's having an experience in the world. Right?
That's fair. I really guess the last thing I would say is we all have that shared experience. We don't really remember being in utero, right? We don't remember our time unborn. At least I don't, personally. But I would also say that we don't necessarily remember, at least I don't remember the time right after I was born. I personally don't remember being an infant. So if it's that shared, remembered, conscious experience, then why isn't the shared experience that we all have before we could remember it valued the same way?
Well, I think it's simply a recognition that even prior to your consciousness developing to the stage it is right now as a college student, they have that capacity. Well, obviously, again, not as developed, they can still relate to you in that way because they've have those thalamocortical connections after 20 weeks. And as they go on in life, they will continue to build those experiences that we relate to so deeply.
It really is. It really does come down to the simplicity of it's a threshold issue. Yeah. There's the time pre-ability to deploy consciousness. There's the time post. Everything post is the same. Everything pre is the same. It's just that once that threshold has been met, then you're like a different type of thing, or at least I will assign you a different type of moral weight because you have a different type of capacity now. And so, like, I understand what you're getting at. Like, I don't remember. I also do not remember what it was like to be a one-day-old.
I remember.
I don't remember that at all. I also don't remember like half the stuff I did last week, but that doesn't mean that like during those time periods where my memories just shelved all that and tossed it off to the side. That doesn't mean during those time periods I didn't maintain the same moral value. I don't consider memory, right? Like,
sure.
Memory's memory. It's a different thing than consciousness. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I don't think we're going to find agreement, but I appreciate your opinions, and thank you for coming again.
Yeah, of course.
Likewise. Thank you for being respectful. And not voting for Trump. Thank you, King.
Did you vote for Trump?
Of course.
Of course you did. You sound just like him.
Let's talk about something fun, like the war in Iran. Anybody? Any Trump supporter at all? This is a super Republican college, is it? Anybody? Is it conservative? No? Not conservative? Bring them over. Where's TPUSA?
Should have gone to Liberty.
Yep. It was pretty bad, wasn't it?
No. I know you guys couldn't hear that on the stream. Guy over here said that there was like 8 people at the TPUSA event. That stings.
Yep.
There we go.
Hello, Amy.
Hi.
How's
That
it
mic
going?
seems a little high for you.
It is a little high for me, but I feel like most people are taller than me.
Maybe.
All right. Who's going to come debate a liberal? We know someone out here has an opinion. We've got a lot of strong opinions on this campus. Who wants to talk about the war in Iran?
What are they going to do? How do you defend anything?
It's indefensible at this point.
True.
That's it. UnfuckAmerica tour is over. Thank you, guys. I'm joking.
I know for a fact there's a couple of Trump supporters slithering around over here. I know that. But I understand.
Nobody at all.
Here
I understand the
here
unwillingness.
comes
Okay, how do you
someone.
defend this guy?
Someone's
You can't. It's not
walking
possible.
over here with his wolf pack shirt.
Oh my God, there's a person.
See,
Hello.
You're taller than me. You'll fit perfectly. Get real close though.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
How's it going, man? You
Great.
support Trump?
Good. No, I'm more liberal. But I did want to ask you. I heard you talking about like consciousness, in your last like talk with like Josh. I think he's one of the Turning Point USA guys, and I do like to talk with the Turning Point USA guys. I actually did attend their event, like when they had it over at Witherspoon the other day. And I talked to Will Witt, who is the guy who is talking for them.
Can you get closer to the mic? I'm sorry. I could barely
Okay,
hear
yeah,
you.
you're good. So I talked to like Will Witt, who is the guy who is representing like Turning Point. And I have an animal advocacy club.
Okay.
It's right over there. Kind of the reason I started it was when I was younger, I used to be very pro-life.
Okay.
And I kind of would read like from both sides about like this or that or the other. And I'm not as pro-life now. I'm probably still a little more pro-life than the average liberal. But I started it because I was reading an article about abortion from like the left's point of view. And it said that like if y'all care so much about abortion, if you care so much about the conscience of like a kid who's not even born yet, then why don't you care about like the consciousness of animals who are clearly clearly feel more pain, and are clearly more developed and are much bigger than like a fetus that's like about this size. And anyhow, so like that's kind of like what led me into like stopping eating meat and starting a club to like promote that, and this and that and the other. But I was wondering because I asked the Turning Point USA guy about that, and he used to be a veterinarian. He used to work a lot with animals, and he said that like part of like their movement, they want more outdoor space for animals. And this and like would y'all as like a more liberal side like still commit to like stuff like not like caging hens and not putting like pigs in like gestation crates, which are like very would y'all commit to like doing stuff like that for animals?
I'm okay. There's wind. I'm losing stuff. There's definitely things that I would commit to in terms of, or like policy positions that I would be pro in terms of like better treatment of animals. I don't know, like how far are you like asking to take it? Are you like going like all the way down the veganism route? Because if that's the answer is no. But
no, I
think I
just better treatment for sure.
I could definitely get behind more.
What we present about over there is that like chickens get like 1 square foot of space, like per chicken, which is about the size of a sheet of paper in like farms, and they're killed like at like 6 or 7 weeks of life. So it's very, very like young baby chickens that are killed for meat. So I mean, like sure, I'm pretty far against that. But like it does have to start somewhere, and I was mainly like wondering about y'all's views on like should we end cages for egg production in two of the biggest issues we're working on as a group is cages for egg production and gestation crates for pigs, which is like basically they have like a crate that they have to stay in their whole pregnancy and like they can't turn around?
Look, I'll just give you like a general answer that I think would answer every question that you are going to want to ask, like every specific question.
Yeah.
I think that we should just, if we can find ways, any way we can find to accomplish like the same goal, like with chicken, you're using the example of like harvesting like eggs from chickens, right?
Yeah.
Any way that we can accomplish the same end in a more humane way, we should just do that. Like I would always be pro those positions. If there's another way to do it that's
So you would be.
that's less mean, less inhumane, and still gets eggs, cool, great. I'll be for it. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and I think I'll second that. It feels just intuitively wrong to have them in like these really tight spaces with no ability to move. Well, I'm not well versed. Obviously, it's not typically what I focus on. It just feels right, sounds wrong. So in the most broad sense, I am for what most people would consider to be more ethical forms of harvesting and treatment of these animals.
Okay, yeah, fantastic. Sure. Yeah, so you could, y'all and like the Turning Point guy could like agree on that, like there should be like. And
that's it. That's all we can agree on.
Well, I mean, there's a start. You can't make progress without agreeing on something. So
Well, listen, I think he's more open to a discussion about animals because they don't vote for liberals. So maybe if the animals started voting for Democrats, then maybe it'd be for I don't know, depriving them of due process rights or issuing administrative subpoenas to reveal their identities, because I don't know, Republicans seem to have pretty inhumane beliefs.
I definitely disagree with a lot of his beliefs.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I don't, but I mean, not all of them. I mean, and I think you have to, whenever you're making progress, like, sure, you can easily like just blame somebody else, and you might not like them. You don't have to like them. You don't have to like the right, but you're never gonna make like the country a better place if you just like constantly hit them. Like we disagree with a whole bunch of people at our table. Whenever we're talking with people, we're never trying to like slam them for eating meat or like this or that. We're just trying to like give them another perspective, and I feel like that kind of does make a lot more progress than just like you don't have to like Will Witt, you don't have to like the Turning Point USA people, but you do have to like be open to what they're saying, and even if you strongly disagree on one policy position, it doesn't mean that you disagree with every single policy.
Listen, while I agree at face value, you could probably have a reasonable conversation with just about every single person. There is a small, like 1/4 of our population who is not open to having a serious conversation, who denies reality in the pursuit of instituting their dream, crazy, unsustainable government like the president is attempting to do so right now. So I don't think people like, what's his name, Will
Witt, I think.
Will Witt. I don't think I could ever have a reasonable conversation with Will Witt because he can say one thing and simultaneously, like, be pro-life, for example. I'm assuming he's pro-life?
Yes.
Yeah, and then be supporting an administration that's engaging in like some of the most inhumane, disgusting acts. So how can you possibly have a reasonable conversation with a person like that?
Well, you start with issues that you agree, like if you have a disagreement on pro-life. Like, sure, I can disagree with you, who can disagree with Will Witt, who can disagree with this or that or the other, and we're talking about, like, for example, like last week, I'm going to be a teacher after I graduate. Last week I was at like a conference with a few like of the state representatives that they were talking about education. There were some Republicans there were some Democrats there. Like, if we're talking about, paying teachers more, I'm not going to be like slamming the Republican or the Democrat for their pro-life views, their their pro-choice views, or whatever you believe, when we're talking about a completely different issue. I feel like for sure you can disagree with him strongly, but like if a different issue is brought up and he has a good point, then you've got to, I don't think the issues translate.
Well, in a formal setting where you're working with representatives, if you can come together on an issue and coalesce behind a solution, then definitely I would always advocate for that. Bipartisanship is great, right? But at the same time, somebody like Will Witt, who's a walking contradiction, who plays no role in passing legislation, he just disseminates misinformation and talks about DEI for 3 hours. That guy is not a state representative, right? Nor do I think he's reasonable. So.
I don't, like, he's not a state representative, but his views could be similar to what a lot of people who are voting for representatives vote for. And I still think that even when you're talking with those, you can't, because there's people like me, and I agree mainly with liberals, But I have a whole bunch of conservative friends who are like great people. I mean, obviously I disagree with them a little more than I disagree with liberals. But I don't think that, like, saying that you can't have a conversation with people who you disagree with.
Here's where you're getting it wrong. You're leveling the playing field and putting Will Witt in the same position as your conservative friends who partake in politics from time to time and maybe have strong feelings about certain issues. They're not on the same level. I don't typically look at pundits on the right as people who are reasonable. I look at them as bad faith. I look at them as individuals who are pushing us further and further into disarray. The average person's not like them. The average person probably is open to conversation, but a person like Will Witt, a person like Ben Shapiro, a person like Nick Fuentes has something to gain from this divisiveness that they continue to foment. So what's the benefit for him to ever be changed in a position or say, oh, I'm a Democrat now? It's never going to happen, right?
I mean, he's probably not going to go against too much Republican, but like, what would you go against in Democrat ideology? Like, what is like one position that the Democrats have that you would disagree with?
You can have substantive disagreements on soft power, foreign policy. I know some people on the left disagree with USAID, and I love USAID. Best fiscal policy, like that kind of thing.
I feel like I really love USAID. I feel like most liberals, at least that I know, that are educated.
Yeah,
on that
most
level,
liberals do. That's not what he's talking about.
USAID.
Yeah, I mean like a really
He's
broad,
talking about
like
tankies.
a really like strong liberal position that you would say, no, sure, the rest of my party's with that, but like I'm not with that. Because like even if you look, like I'm half Argentinian, and the Liberal Party in Argentina has different policy positions than the one here. So it's not like we have a completely good party and a completely bad party. Like everywhere in the world has different positions all around. So I mean, there's generally like I feel like unless you're always buying into the mainstream ex-liberal conservative
damn mainstream media, fuck.
Yeah, but like if you're always, or even just like the social media that's like, oh, liberals are all right, conservatives are all wrong, or vice versa, like you're gonna have some different views to what the Democratic Party platform is or the Republican Party platform is, even if you support one party over the other. Like, what would be a view like that?
Yeah, I feel like I don't think what you're actually asking for is actually possible on the left. Like, I think if you asked a right-wing person this, there's answers that you could get in return, because the reason we don't have, like, because what you're asking for ultimately is like what's an issue where like 95% of the left wants this position, where you're different, you want this over here.
Yeah.
We don't do that. We don't do that here. The reason you can get stuff like that on the right every once in a while is you'll have like your Tucker Carlsons right now that are he's freaking out about the Iran war, right? The reason you can have that is because the whole party, when the stuff happens on the right, or when Trump says that this is what I want, the whole entire party will coalesce around that position. How do we go from like no new wars to like I'm gonna bomb the shit out of Iran and you're gonna just like it? But they will coalesce around an issue like this to where they all have to have 100% agreement now, even if it's a 100% flip from the issue they had last week. We just don't do that. There's no one issue where I can point to, at least not major issues. There might be like very small things that nobody really cares about, where it's like most people just think this and I think this. That might be the case. But there's no major big issue, that gets talked about like on a national level frequently, where 98% of the left thinks one thing, and there's a couple libs out here running around that think the other way. That just doesn't happen because we don't coalesce like that around issues. We all have different opinions.
You do, because like, for example, my mom was thinking about running for mayor, or like running for a city council position as a Democrat, and she had to like fill out a checklist with the Democratic Party on issues that she agreed with. One of them was being pro-choice over pro-life, and she was not, so she couldn't possibly be a Democratic representative. They wouldn't fund her. So like there are issues, like there's in the Democratic Party there is issues that if you disagree, you can't necessarily get funding from Democrats.
Well, we might virtue signal on issues a lot. There's plenty of that going on. But like, if you think if you think a different way on a certain issue, there's social groups that are going to hate you now. Like what you're talking about specifically. What did you say? Was your mom that tried to run?
Yeah.
Your mom tried to run as a Democrat.
She was thinking about it. She wasn't like necessarily.
Or she was thinking about it. And she was pro-life, so they said no.
Yeah.
I can see issues like that like popping up with like the DNC, like, oh, we don't really want to run you. The reason that's happened is because there's like for one, I just want to point this out. I know this is old, and that's fine. You can critique this that way. The whole, like, a huge part of the reason we didn't get a codified federal abortion protection was because of pro-life Democrats. So to say that, like, you can't be pro-life when, like, there's a huge piece of legislation that a lot of the party wants that never happened because of specifically pro-life Democrats, seems kind of goofy. But that was a while ago. Yeah. Nowadays, maybe you can't be so pro-life. I would make the argument that that might be part of the reason. Like, so much of the party has shifted in a certain direction. Now, when you originally asked this question, I thought you were talking about, like, because he was talking about influencers, right? They're in the influencer class, or in, like, the just you as a normal guy. You can have whatever opinions you want, and that's totally fine. Like, we have a lot of issues like this where we'll fight back and forth on issues as liberals. Back to the example of your mom, like, not being able to run, or, like, not getting funding from the party to run.
Yeah.
The part of the reason that stuff like that happens now might be that so much of the party has shifted a certain way that big DNC, I don't know, whoever we're talking about here, the big overlords of the Democratic Party, might not want pro-life representatives in place in certain positions, because we're gonna keep having issues like this over and over, where 90% of the party wants a particular piece of legislation. We just can't get it through because one or two people.
Well, so we're
gonna get Obama again. So maybe now they're just like, we're done with that. We're not gonna do that anymore.
Is there a position that you would disagree with like 90% of the party?
Well, no, because I don't necessarily know that there's 90% of the party that's specific. Like, abortion might be one. The reason, like, the reason abortion's a weird issue is because you might, like, you want to draw the line between pro-life, pro-choice, but that's not really where that conversation ends. The conversation ends on how you would actually legislate it, right? Like, I probably do disagree with a huge portion of the party, because I would cut abortion off. Like, I would cut it off. Like, if I was God and I could snap and make my fingers the law.
I want 17th trimester abortions out the womb, 5 years out. I'm joking.
So that might be an example. You might not like that example because you're like, well, you're still pro-choice. But I probably do disagree with a large section of the party.
I was born in Denmark, and Denmark has the law that you have to have like 12 weeks, abortion by 12 weeks, which in like the U.S. it's more like 20 to 24 weeks. Mm-hmm. So I agree more with the Danish law, which is a little bit more pro-life.
Listen,
is what I was saying.
I think we would slap it at like 16.
Wait, so she's trying to silence you. This is the problem. There's the DNC overlord right there. I'm joking.
No.
Listen.
She has to get a question, so that's taking up too much time. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Hey, man, love you. My vegan king.
Guns, by the way. Guns is another one.
My vegan king.
All right.
Maximal pro-Second Amendment.
Anyone who'd like to step up to the mic, come on
MAGA?
over.
MAGA, please.
We know there's strong opinions here.
If you're America first.
We got a lot of spectators here. Come on
over. If you're America
over.
First.
All right.
Where's your guys' TPUSA chapter, bro? Get them over here.
Nowhere to be seen, apparently.
All right. I'm going to let this young lady step up to the mic.
Okay.
Hi.
Hello. Hi, how you doing?
I'm not MAGA, so this might not be super fun.
Get out. I'm joking.
I would classify myself more of a social democrat than anything. I guess one of my biggest questions for like liberal Democrats is, for the 2028 election, do you think it's important for us to lean more into like social like safety nets and more leftist policy than liberal policy, because that seems to be what people are reacting to more for elections?
Populism?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a humongous portion of our focus for 2028 should be around economic issues, whatever form that takes. Like, we might have like slight disagreements on what policies we should put forward, but I think a huge chunk of the campaigning, or the focus for the 2028 campaign should be around economics. That just seems to be what people care about. Everyone loves to think that like Americans care about like foreign policy and stuff, but like, we can't see 2 feet beyond our own faces. Okay, so like we don't care about. We'll complain about stuff that's happening elsewhere, but we really don't. It doesn't affect our voting decisions that much. Economics does huge. If you're paying, I don't know, what's gas up to nowadays? I just drove down here. It was like I paid like $4.20 on
$4,
like $4.10,
$3.90 when I got mine.
Really bad.
Yeah, if that's the situation, if we're still dealing with stuff like that around 28, like you just hammer it, and that'll be what carries the day.
Yeah.
Now, if you were to provide policy solutions, you have to make sure that they're feasible. I think the American people are incredibly upset with the representatives in Congress right now, and they feel as if every single time we elect somebody, they have a bunch of false promises. So you have to counteract that by not only winning power, because you need political capital to get things passed through the legislature, but simultaneously offering up solutions that can work, not just big promises with the idea of making everybody's life amazing, when in reality you can't, because then people will feel further alienated from their party, which is the opposite of what we want to do. We want to bring people closer. We want people to be politically engaged. So,
Right.
yeah.
I think one of the biggest problems was the Kamala campaign, where nothing basically was promised, because I guess they were worried of unfulfilled promises, but the Trump campaign made plenty of promises and didn't deliver on anything. So it's like, it's almost like damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing, where...
Well, it hinges a lot on the delivery. And obviously Kamala Harris didn't have enough time on the campaign trail to really...
Totally true, yeah.
Like, have everybody repeating her policy in their head.
Yep.
But it's to be quite honest, elections are going to be a really vibes-based kind of ordeal, right?
Very messaging.
So in that front, leaning into individuals' inconveniences and what affects them on their day-to-day life is going to be effective. But when it comes to long-term political power, which is what we want to enact huge policy like a single-payer option, for example, you need to make sure that those promises can be kept and we change the messaging. But I think that's more of a messaging issue because she did have policy.
Yeah.
She wanted to expand the supply of housing.
Yeah.
She was going to continue the initiatives under Biden to provide municipalities with efficient housing programs that could build units quickly with government assistance as well. But that kind of flew over everyone's head because they related her to Joe Biden. Donald Trump said, she is Biden, you know, she's Biden.
That's really good.
The American people were not able to separate her from that. She couldn't escape the cloud of Joe Biden. So
Not shoehorning in Gavin Newsom just because he's like the social media star right now. Is that something that you're in favor of?
Yes, I do not think that we should choose a leader of the party in this moment. The primaries are incredibly important, and to everybody watching right now, your civic duty is not a privilege. It's not something that you should ignore or participate in every couple of years. You have a chance to pick a leader who's actually going to work for you, and that's exactly why you need to be voting in the primary. So there is no leader of the Democratic Party because the DNC doesn't choose. Gavin Newsom doesn't choose. The people choose, and the people need to choose. So carry out your civic duty. That's my best advice.
Cool. Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Yep. Thank you so much. Have an incredible day. No clapping? Damn, tough fucking crowd, bro. It's okay. Come on.
Hello.
How's it going, liberal?
Give me 1 second, sir.
How'd you guess?
All right. So, hey, everyone. I am going to bring in our National Ground Game President for NCSU. We've got Marshall. Nope, you're going to come here. You're going to sit next to David for a moment. And David can chat with you a little bit about the chapter.
Awesome. Amazing. You're gonna take away the mic from him. Wow. You're such a piece of shit.
Hey, you know what? I mean, we gotta get this figured out and get people talking about it. Yeah.
So you are the?
I am the chapter president of this National Ground Game chapter at NC State. We just got started this semester.
Yep.
I believe we were actually the very first chapter that ever got started, but we'll have to check the files on that one. I think we actually opened on January 6th, so that's kind of interesting factoid.
Very memorable day. I wonder why.
Yeah, I wonder why. So a little thing happened on that day but no, we just got started, and we've been doing some good tabling work and fighting misinformation, and we even had a meeting where we shared some connections that a certain group has to January 6th as well. They were kind of well funded in that way.
Turning Point USA.
Yeah, so that was a fun discussion. But we're going strong first semester, and we're just going to head into the next semester with midterms even bigger and better.
And to anybody that may be curious, so the people watching, how can they join the National Ground Game chapter?
So the best way to join and get our information, if you go over to we have a table right over here. We're doing voter registration.
Go to the voter registration table if you're not registered already, please.
Yep, and we have forms to fill out. It's really easy. Just fill it out and send it into the board, and we'll tell you how to do that. But if you go to that table, we also have our NGG at NCSU Instagram. Scan that QR code and follow us on Instagram, and you'll get all the information about when our meetings are. This semester is about to end, so it's kind of pointless to say this, but we do have our meetings every Wednesday in the Senate chamber from 4 to 5:30. But next semester we'll have a new time, new day, and we'll keep you updated on that on Instagram.
Amazing. Yeah, make sure you grow that chapter, because if not, we're going to fire you. I'm joking.
Yeah, check the metrics.
Yeah.
Keep me honest. All right, thank you so much.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Marshall. Everyone, give Marshall a round of applause. This is a big job.
Get engaged, please.
All right, I'm going to Andrew back in here.
I've returned.
Welcome again, liberal.
I'm back. Okay. Obviously, I'm liberal. I don't know what gave it away. But I think the greatest strength that the right has right now is its religiousization of its politics and policies. It really gets a passionate backing to those. So I think that my question is, within state campus, there are several religious clubs which are right-leaning, obviously, and very strong in their attendance, but there's not one like atheist organization to my knowledge, and I think I did a pretty good job of looking. So my question is, how could we as a student body foster that same sense of like community and moral backing, I guess, in a secular, non-predatory way?
What would an atheist org even look like? I understand, like,
bunch of cool people. It'd be really cool.
Well, no, I just been like, what do you do? Like, I understand, like, the whole point. If you're at college and you have like your Christian clubs, I understand, like, your whole point, or like the whole thing that you'd be doing is just like you bond over your religion and you're talking about, or maybe you're reading Bible verses. I don't know, never been a part of one, but I'm trying to imagine the other side of that. What does an atheist organization do?
Well, I mean, what realistically do religious organizations do?
I don't know. Ask them.
Preach the gospel, brother.
I've never been a part of one.
Preach the gospel. How dare you?
Yeah.
No, listen. I think there isn't really a sense of community within the Democratic Party. There is no infrastructure. There's no infrastructure in schools, anywhere you fucking go. Being a liberal is like a kind of more private thing. You vote a couple of times, maybe you have a conversation at the dinner table, and the right has managed to like sink their claws into religion, when in reality their policy prescription does not align with their religious doctrine. But there should be liberal counters to that. There should be a Democrat Christian society. There should be an atheist one. But it's going to be difficult unless we have that infrastructure. So if you believe that there's a weak point, you go have conversations with these people, you invite them over, and maybe the reason why they don't want to associate themselves with the Democratic Party or liberals is because they believe that, well, they're crazy atheist demon people that fucking eat babies, So it's hey, you need to get rid of that idea, and we need to build that infrastructure that we so desperately need, right? So,
I definitely agree with that.
It all starts with just putting one foot in front of another. Like them, you just kind of decide to make that decision, make that club, make an atheist org, make a NGG org. And you can build it all up from there. It's real easy to expand. So,
okay, thank you.
Yeah, have a good one.
Sorry, I wasn't expecting that question.
Yeah, it's a
radical question.
Weird
That's
one.
such a radical question.
I'm too liberal.
Get out of here. Deport this guy. Get him out. Yeah.
I'm trying to imagine, like, the school atheist club meeting. Like, what
They want to make atheist clubs at NCSU. Could you believe that?
My God.
They want to make atheist clubs. Could you? How's it go?
Hey.
Good. How are you guys?
Great.
I have a question. I'm not on the conservative side, but what do you think is a feasible way to deal with the current system of immigration and like change it?
Depends on what changes you're after. Like, what do you have any more specifics? Like
you see, for example, how right now is pretty much like ICE raid. We catch all of them and then we send them back. What do you think is an actual like feasible way to deal with that?
For internal immigration enforcement?
Oh, internally for sure. I don't know how. This is one thing that if I could just snap my fingers and make happen, I would love to take the conversation back, take it back from conservatives about sanctuary cities. Because that word has such a negative connotation now, but that means that I guarantee you there are no conservatives that you will find, at least no media pundits, no politicians, that know what that word or what that phrase means, what a sanctuary city actually is. And I unironically think stuff like sanctuary city policies could be retooled, could be the solution to like internal immigration enforcement. All like sanctuary city policies really are is that it's just the local law enforcement or the state law enforcement has a policy that when they come in contact via their normal operations with an undocumented immigrant, it is up to their discretion whether or not they report that person to ICE. So if there's a murder that happens and you arrest the suspected murderer and it happens to be an undocumented immigrant, you can turn that person over to ICE to have them deported. Or if you're sitting there, imagine you being like a district attorney in your local town, I guess here, and you catch a murderer and it's an undocumented immigrant. Are you thinking to yourself like, what I really want for this person is for them to be deported? Maybe you do. Maybe that is your answer to that question. But for me, I'd be like, I want the maximal. You killed you killed my people. Like, I want maximal punishment. So, or I guess I gave one side of that story. Or the other side of the story is, if you you catch someone that's like on their third like petty theft charge, they're on their third. What's the actual charge for like stealing? Oh my god, like petty theft, I guess. I'll just
Shoplifting, I'm assuming.
They're on like their third shoplifting charge, and you're like, look, clearly things aren't changing. Okay, you're just gonna keep stealing. We're gonna keep arresting you. Then you turn that person over to ICE. People give like sanctuary city policies a bad rap. Conservatives give sanctuary city policies a bad rap. But I think that is unironically the solution to internal enforcement. I think like local law enforcement or like local district attorneys should be their discretion of, do I want to? Is this person like? Is this like a one-time thing? I think this person shoplifted once, but they've been good up until now, and they're going to be good in the future, and so I'm not going to turn them over to ICE. Or this person did something so horrible that I don't want to turn them over to ICE. I want to punish them myself. Or this person is clearly showing that they're not going to get better. They're going to keep breaking the law, so I'm going to turn them over. That's how you solve that whole problem, because what it allows for all sides of the coin. You get everything you want out of that. You can not deport people that you don't believe should be, like people that are just good people and maybe they broke the law once. You keep them. You can maintain custody of the really bad people that you want to punish yourself, and you can get rid of the people that are going to keep breaking laws over and over, and they're just like ruining your community.
I'm going to try
solve all the problems that I think exist by doing that.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Well, when it comes to immigration and customs enforcement specifically, I'm going to try my hardest to keep this brief because it's a pretty long policy answer. But first of all, take it back to funding how it used to be. Immigration and customs enforcement should work in tandem with intelligence agencies to come after the worst of the worst, which is what the Trump administration was promising. But instead, they're showing up to detain 5-year-old Liam Ramos on his way back from school and using him as bait, and then they're shipping these people across different states so they don't have access to It's clear that what they're doing is ruling immigration policy with an iron fist with the intention of scaring people. But that doesn't work. You're not coming after criminals. Recently, a woman was murdered, and Donald Trump posted the video on Truth Social. That guy, his temporary protected status ended in 2024, and he had an order for removal, but they didn't get him. What are they doing? They're wasting their time coming after easy targets, people that don't really pose a threat. So immigration and customs enforcement should target threats to public safety. And to his point, is the idea of getting rid of a bad person to just get them out your house? When you put them on the other side of the fence, they can come right back in, or they can go do damage elsewhere. We have jails here, and if someone is committing crimes, if it's been adjudicated, a judge finds them guilty, then, or jury, sorry, whatever, procedural bullshit. Basically, you put them here, because sending them back is just going to destabilize wherever they end up, or they can continue to commit offenses elsewhere. So this idea of just deporting every single criminal probably isn't the best approach. And yeah, apart from that, I love the idea of helping every American and every member of Congress who can't really tell their left from their right shoe, explain to them what a sanctuary city is, because it does solve a lot of those issues. So he covered just about everything. So,
They have stolen the narrative on that phrase. Sanctuary city policies are like some of the best immigration policy you could possibly have, but they've just completely stolen it, and now it's has infinite negative connotation. It's annoying.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Round of applause.
Bro, they steal. You never noticed that? They fucking steal everything from us. They steal every single phrase. Christianity's gone. We're the ones with Christian values.
The only way they can win is by cheating.
They steal everything. Bro.
Hello.
How's it going, liberal?
Okay, I should start. Do you believe that, and the echo is killing me. Do you believe that an undocumented immigrant has a place in the U.S.? Not a place, but should be allowed to be in the U.S.?
Ask the question. Do I think they have a should we let some undocumented people stay? Is that what you're saying?
I am a law enforcement officer, right? And I have no
Are you actually a cop?
No.
A cop, dude. I'm joking.
I am an immigrant myself, European, granted. But if you get into the country by legal means, you're undocumented without papers, right? This is not you should be shot or whatever. This is just should some law enforcement person find out that you are here illegally, should you be deported?
No, not in all cases. This is actually kind of what I was trying to get at with her. Well, for one, it depends on the problem is this is actually a long conversation that we're trying to shoehorn in. It's a really quick interaction. Basically, what I would say for anytime law enforcement or any government official finds that a person is undocumented, I think a lot of discretion needs to be applied and their circumstances need to be analyzed. Like I said, if it's a murderer, no, I don't want that person deported because I want him punished here. If it's a person who's maybe their discovery, so to speak, the way that law enforcement found them was completely by chance. They didn't actually do anything. I can imagine a situation in which you're an undocumented immigrant and you get rear-ended, in your car. And then the cop shows up to take the statement and finds out you're undocumented. if we go through that person's history and find out, oh, they came here 10 years ago, they got a tax identification number, they've been working and paying taxes that entire time, never broken the law, they've had 2 kids while they're here, like they're just doing, they're doing American stuff, they're living the American dream. I don't want to just be tossing those people out of the country. I don't think we should do that.
Okay, I mean, I understand, like, I don't also, like I have families who I've worked with who, like, have been deported through this administration. It's a terrible process. I'm not defending this administration in particular. I understand, like, you're coming to a country illegally by, like, force, quote unquote, right? The conditions are not great. You're not coming to the country because, like, you necessarily want to leave your home. Like, the conditions at home are worse than, like,
it's out of necessity.
It is out of necessity. Yeah. But I do understand the point of view of, like, you're here illegally. Sorry, should you be found to be here illegally, like, you don't have a right to be here.
Do you think it's okay for prosecutors to offer, like, plea deals to, like, say you have, like, an organized crime thing, and a prosecutor offers, like, someone in the in that organized crime structure a plea deal to testify against other people? Do you think that's, like, okay, moral? Should that be allowed?
I'm not sure.
What I'm trying to get, give me a straight answer. Say yes or no.
I can't.
Okay, fine. You can't say yes or no. The reason I'm saying that is because there's times in, like, while we're dealing with our legal framework, where we have to analyze benefit and harm, right? We're saying, like, is this person, is what they did so horrible that, like, we just have to throw the book at them with, like, I'm sorry, there's no wiggle room here. They gotta go. I can think of, like, serial killers, right? You gotta go, dude. You're like, what you've done is so awful.
Yeah.
That we're done with you. But when we're talking about, like, lower level mob guys, like, well, let's analyze. What did you do? Maybe you did do horrible stuff, but what benefit can you provide me? If you've done some bad things, but I can get the rest of your organization by letting you off or giving you favorable terms, so to speak, then we do that because it's worth it. We're weighing what you've done bad versus what benefit are you providing or can you provide. I think we never think of, like, immigration that way, but I think we should. I think we should take that exact same framework and apply it to immigration. If the worst thing that you've done, that's why I gave you the example of the immigrant who was discovered accidentally, right? Via, like, they were rear-ended.
Yeah.
If we analyze a person, the worst thing that you've ever done was come to the country illegally, but you've paid, like, you've paid 10 years worth of taxes, and you've sorry, there's a we're
trying to sabotage.
We're in the Dust Bowl right now. But if we can look at a person and the worst thing that they've ever done in their life was enter the country illegally, but they've provided so much benefit to the country, I think we should apply that same framework. Okay. Benefit, harm.
I understand that. I'm like, okay, on the day-to-day speaking, like,
I have a really important question.
Yeah.
Do you think the proper punishment for arriving in this country illegally, committing no crimes, and contributing to the economy and having children, and they go to schools, do you think the reasonable punishment for that is removal from the country?
Under the current legal framework, maybe. I'm asking you.
Laws can be changed.
It's not a legal question, and it can be changed.
Yeah, with, like, the current system we have, I think, like, it's fair. Like, you came into the country knowing very well that you don't have a right here, like, if that's, like, to say. Now, this is, I'm prefacing this with, like, I have undocumented friends. I'm not gonna, like, turn them over because, like, oh, you're an illegal, like, I hate you. Like, I have, like, I've worked
but why, what's that underlying thought process that makes you say, I'm gonna go tell you right now, I'm gonna go give local law enforcement a tip, and you're gonna get fucking deported.
Because I'm human, right? I think the point I'm trying to get at here is, like, I think rather than focusing on, like, we should let the illegals in because they're, like, good people, right? Which is, like, I kind of agree.
That's nobody's position. We're simply.
Yeah, I'm not talking about letting people in. I think we should have a secure border. I don't think you should be able. Now, this literally is not possible. Trump thinks it is because he's delusional. But
30 million. 30 million.
Zero have come in.
Million.
Zero. That's the number. Like, no, we should have a secure border. You shouldn't be able to theoretically even come here illegally. Like, that shouldn't be possible because the border should be that secure. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, like, once you're already here. That's the reason I propose you with that weight, that scale, balancing. What harm have you done versus your benefit is because this framework only works with people that are already here.
Okay.
And it's to speak to, because you made the decision in your head, if you believe that the reasonable punishment for an individual residing in the country illegally is deportation, then why don't you report your friends? It's almost as if because you recognize that they aren't doing any harm, and the only difference between you and them is a legal classification. No, they're going to school here. I'm assuming they work a job, a family.
I agree with this, but
yeah, exactly. Like, so we should apply it in that same way when making legislation to deal with the issue.
So, but, like, okay, I understand. Like, with my issue is the way the current laws are set up, right? Like, if you're already here, like the problem is if you like allow like an undocumented immigrant to like thrive and like get citizenship and all that, that like by virtue incentivizes those who are not in the country to do the same, right? Because like, oh, there is a path to do this, right? I like this path. I'll be honest, right? So in my opinion, there should be like laws to like say, okay, hey, you can come in legally and like do things. Like this is what my family did.
Well, here's the thing: when it comes to amnesty, it has to come in conjunction with like a comprehensive overhaul of our current immigration system. You cannot just allow for people to come into the country illegally and then say, oh, well, look, I'm not doing anything. Yeah. Obviously, but at the same time, you recognize that individuals do that out of necessity because what? The path legally is fiscally burdensome, incredibly time-consuming.
Yeah, it's not
things they
like,
don't
actually
have.
possible.
Exactly. So you make those changes with respect to that, right?
Yes. My final like thing then is if I am under the current framework, right? I'm like more anti-immigration just because of my political stances or whatever. I think it's very reasonable to say, hey, you're illegal. You should be deported. And it's like a valid like chain of thought punishment. And I don't think it's necessarily fair to like tell someone, oh, you shouldn't think that that person could get deported, even though they're like not evil.
I think it is fair because, again, this is just, oh, I want to follow the law to a T because I respect the law. The majority of the people that say these things voted for a 34-count convicted felon that escaped sentencing. Well, he was sentenced, right? But according to the judge themselves, he was granted this privilege because of the fact that he was elected. Yeah. So to act as if, and why is it that they voted for the criminal? Is it because they support the law? No, it's because they believe that even though he's a criminal, he was going to be better than the other option that didn't commit a crime. Apply that same standard to an immigrant. Without them, guess what? You lost out on the worker. You lost out on their contributions that they make. Immigrants invigorate economies. The expansion of the labor supply is a great thing. So we have a shadow economy of millions of people who have families, who have homes in America. Yeah. So this idea that we should just follow the black letter of the law, no one applies that standard across all the law because we recognize that there's some things that can be changed. So you have to recognize the fiscal benefit, the moral one that you recognize with your friends, and that's what you have to bring up because no one respects the law to a T. People speed, people run red lights, and why is that?
So
is it because it's the greatest moral transgression or because, well, they don't really care that much?
Okay, so if I understand you correctly, you... like the moral and like social implication and fiscal like economic benefits of immigration outweigh the like illegality of it as we stand like currently today.
There should be a punishment for entering the country illegally. I don't personally think that the proper punishment is removal because it's a victimless crime. Maybe a financial penalty. I remember there was a proposed legislation that would have imposed a financial penalty that these individuals would have to pay over time. I'm forgetting the name of it specifically.
When you say this, like, you know, like you're an officer, you find an undocumented person in the U.S., right? They've done nothing wrong per se. You know, they're the kids, they do their job, like they're a great person, right? Do you just not punish them? Do you do like a punishment of like fiscal burden, knowing that like they probably have like limited funds to run off of in the first place? Like, what's your solution to this?
Well, obviously, given legal status, you'll have more job mobility, you'll have more bargaining power, because it's not like you can be subjected to lower wages. So if they do need to find better employment, they can do so as well. But I'm open for punishment if that allows us to actually pass comprehensive legislation that fixes our immigration system to prevent from people coming illegally in such large numbers in the future. And it wasn't really a huge... Donald Trump completely exaggerated. He said 30 million fucking people came to this country every 4 years.
10% of the population.
Yeah. So it doesn't really happen too often, but when it does, obviously you want to mitigate that as much as possible.
Okay, so you're okay with punishment for the undocumented, like barring any other crimes?
I think a proportionate punishment.
As a means to an end to get to better legislation in the future for permitting.
For example, let's say if you could pass amnesty with no punishment, honestly, I'd probably be open to it. But if you had to reach across the aisle and that's what it took for these people to say, you know what, fuck it, let's give them legal status, LPRs, like make them legal permanent residents at least, and then also change the system, make it more streamlined, build up infrastructure, build up asylum courts, immigration courts, then yeah, sure, why not?
Also, like, think about how nice like a policy like that would be for ICE, right? Imagine like we passed a law. Because I'm not in favor of, like, I know some libs are. I'm not totally in favor of just like canning ICE and not having internal immigration enforcement. Like we still should. But think about how nice that would be for whatever version of our internal immigration enforcement agency was left over after the Trump administration, whatever we have next. Imagine we pass like a new piece of legislation that gives like mass amnesty to all the undocumented immigrants that are currently here. All you have to do is go to a government building. They'll do a background check on you. They'll check your tax records, see if you like got a tax identification number and you were paying taxes. If you don't have one, they'll give you one so you can start paying taxes, whatever. They go through all that. what does that say if that was the case and it was that easy? You just go in, background check, make sure you're good, and boom, now you have amnesty. What does that say about the people that don't do it? Like, they don't go to their government building to try to get this new amnesty.
I'm not sure what.
In my eyes, it says there's a reason you didn't go. If it's that easy, if we pass amnesty and it's that easy for you to just go, you just show up, they background check you, and boom, you're good to go. You're legal now in the country. Those that don't go, I feel like that says a lot. That's like, there's got to be a reason you didn't show up. So now, when ICE doesn't have to deal with this. Well, they don't have to deal with it now.
Yeah.
They're choosing to do it, but we don't have to deal with the issue anymore of like having this like internal argument of like, should we deport this person? Should we not? Have they done anything wrong? Are they good for the country? They decided for you by choosing to not show up and do the thing. No, you would still want to check, but at least in my eyes, if it's that easy and you don't show up, to get your amnesty, you probably aren't showing up for a pretty good reason.
Get him out of here. Get him out.
I'm not saying instant deport him. I'm not saying instant deport him, but now that means that when the police, I talked about sanctuary city policies earlier. When the police do encounter an undocumented immigrant, you're like, right now, when the police, encounter someone undocumented, like the reaction is like, I understand why you're undocumented. It's really fucking hard.
Yeah.
But then when you encounter you're like, why the fuck are you undocumented? You're like, you shouldn't be. Like, it's so easy. There's a reason, right? So now we've just made internal enforcement super easy, because they'll just tell you whether or not they're subjective feeling of whether or not they think they should be able to stay or not.
I think I like this, yeah. I mean, for the record, I'm pro-immigration. I'm an immigrant myself. Like, I think immigration is a wonderful thing for the world, like mixing cultures and like economically speaking. Illegal immigration is like, I understand why someone would.
Super liberal. I love that. Amen.
It's like the European liberal.
Well, I came from Mexico.
I don't know why it's different here, liberal versus like the rest of the world.
I don't think that's true, if I'm being honest with you, but I don't know. I haven't been to Europe. But this idea that like, the politics of Europe and America are like so vastly different to where
I mean
Bernie Sanders is considered like a center left.
Like the term liberal here means like woke or whatever, and there it means just like capitalist, like liberal as in no borders.
Well, it means that here as well, but Donald Trump again, like all the other terms they've captured, like woke. Woke doesn't mean.
This is before Donald Trump. I promise.
They want transgender for everybody
in France, and then she was like, the wokeism spreading from the U.S. So.
Yeah, no, they capture these terms and they poison them and make them seem like the most liberal means you align with the founders in this idea that every individual should have the right to pursue life and liberty and do whatever they want and specialize in whatever industry and be an entrepreneur. That's what liberalism is. And I think we need to reclaim that word because it sounds really cool.
There's like 3 dozen of these words that have been poisoned by the right. Like, poisoning the well on the word liberal has been like a 40-year project of the right in this country.
Yeah, no.
Same thing with taking religion from us, taking. I used the example of sanctuary cities earlier. That has a really negative connotation now when it shouldn't. Like, there's a lot of these words that. It's not that they mean different things in Europe. It's just that the American conservatives have poisoned the well on a lot of these things.
And that should be a really good cause to action. Because the fact that everybody's been so complacent and not engaging in politics is the reason why people like Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA managed to build infrastructure across the country that poisoned the mind of all these people corrupted and believe that liberals want to destroy America when in reality it's the complete opposite. So that should be a call for everybody here to do their part instead of just sitting around doing fucking nothing, because then everything gets worse.
All right. Thank you. Gotta get to class. Thank you.
Of course.
Thanks,
Enjoy your class, liberal. Highly educated. Round of applause, please. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Wait, is there something wrong? No, not really. Kind of. All right. So we have a special guest that I'm going to let you chat with. So we have Kane here, and Kane has traveled all the way from Georgia. He is our chapter president at UGA in Georgia. They're not official yet, but he's working on it. He's going through all the steps with the school to get it official and up and running, because it takes a while to get these college chapters going.
Bureaucracy, the radical left.
So I'm going to bring Kane in here to chat with you for a moment.
Wait, that's the voter registration booth, right? I'm looking at you. Go to the voter registration booth. I can't stress that enough. I feel a deep relationship, a connection with the voter registration booth. Please, go talk to him. Do your part, please. How's it going, Kane?
Good. How are you?
Great. How does it feel to be in the Ossoff state? He's your senator, right? John Ossoff?
Oh, yeah. It feels great.
Feel?
Yeah, he's come to the campus a few times.
Amazing. He's the GOAT. How's the process making that National Ground Game chapter?
It takes a while, and there's a lot of specific rules that you have to follow that are a little bit difficult, but for the most part, it's pretty simple. You send in some forms, they send it back to you, tell you what to fix.
Awesome. And how have you managed to invite, because I believe there's a requirement for the amount of people that you need first before you can even start one up, right?
Yeah, that's correct. I just go into the library, go to Young Dems meetings, search around for people who look like they'd be willing to participate and get involved, get organized, ask them about it, give them our information, and put in their email on the form. So
it's really that easy. You just have to have the conversation and have the initiative and just go do it.
It should be that easy at every university. I don't want to speak to every university, but if you're out there, then get involved. Definitely try to start your own organization if you don't have one yet.
Well, that's nice, because luckily here there already is a chapter, so it's way easier to join. So if you don't join, then you're just lazy, okay? And we don't like lazy people, isn't that right? Nuh-uh, we're done with that. So what made you want to create the chapter?
I think the UnfuckAmerica tour acknowledged that there was a gap between liberal creators, liberal organizations, and student voter outreach, something that Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk, was very effective at. He worked really hard, and yeah, he had a lot of support around it, and I think that the UnfuckAmerica tour and National Ground Game recognized that and is using that same formula to get students on the Democratic side.
Yeah, I'm glad you're excited. You wanted to make one. That's great. Hope it goes well. We'll see how long it takes.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome, man.
Thank you, Kane, so much. How far of a drive was it for you?
5 hours.
5 hours. Give him a round of applause, y'all.
Round of applause.
We appreciate him. So just for all you watching out there on the internets, National Ground Game, we are starting college chapters, and our objective is to get students involved in politics and have civil discourse, have some debate, interact, what's the word I'm looking for? Campaigning, door knocking for candidates that they support in their communities. Voter registration, we've got our voter registration booth over here. We want y'all voting this fall. Who's voting? Who's registered?
Raise your hand if you're registered to vote.
Woo!
Anybody?
All right, I'm a little disappointed. There should be more hands up.
The booth is right there. It's right there.
Go register to vote.
Come
on. Come here. Come on in, Joanna.
Well, yeah. You know about the oh my God. Are we talking about the registration repair stuff in North Carolina specifically? Because in Sure. Okay. Well, I learned about this recently. Here we go. I learned about this recently at Simply Amazing. I learned about this recently, specifically in North Carolina, due to, we'll call it shenanigans with the General Assembly. There's people who are registered to vote may be flagged as not right when election season comes around and not be able to vote because I forget the exact reasoning why, but the action item is on the NC website or on the NC government websites in the voter rolls. There isn't just the voter record for you. You check your name and there's a registration repair section where you have to I think submit the last 4 digits of your social security number or your driver's license or something like that.
Is that new policy?
It's something going on with the yeah. Well, it's not Trump. It's NC. Okay. But more specifically in NC, that's something you may have to do to check another tab in the registration repair section of the NC voter rolls. The same place you check your voter registration normally.
Yeah, even if you are already registered, it's incredibly important to check up periodically to ensure that nothing has changed.
Oh no, definitely, because they are, especially these days, and with Republicans, the like purging voter rolls and stuff right before elections and stuff like that. particularly in NC with entire court cases done after elections to, especially with Allison Riggs, to throw out elections because we didn't really like them. We didn't really like the results. And wanting to throw away ballots from veterans overseas and stuff like that. But yeah, I thought it was prudent to mention that.
Yeah,
Especially
even if you're a
for
registered
NC.
voter watching right now, if you're watching on the live stream, make sure that you are still registered and able to vote.
Thank you, Joanna. All right, gonna bring Andrew back in.
Sup, lib?
There's no MAGA, is there?
I stole your line.
No
See that?
MAGA?
Huh?
No MAGA.
No MAGA.
No Trump supporters at all that have came across this at all. Nobody.
No, nobody likes Trump. Oh, God.
Wow, TPUSA are a bunch of
Lord
fucking
have
cowards.
mercy. Lord have mercy.
They're so scared, you know.
Well.
Hey.
Gentlemen. I had a question relating to current events.
Wow.
The Iran war. Now, from what I've heard from conservatives, I thought we were America first. We're interested in our own affairs.
It's been going on for 47 years, pal.
So I've heard. Yeah, what's up with the whole Iran war? Why are we even in there? I don't know.
There is not an answer to this question, bro. No one knows. That's the problem. Nobody knows.
Recently, we got an answer, maybe an answer.
No, we didn't. That's the problem.
The New York Times released an article that showed that Benjamin Netanyahu, as well as Pete Hegseth and a number of other people within the administration, were pushing Donnie to make the final decision to go to war. And when they found out that the Ayatollah was going to meet with a lot of other high-ranking officials in his compound, they took an advantage. They thought it was going to be a 4-day-long operation, just like Venezuela. Donald Trump's an opportunistic guy who loves opulence, who loves victories, who loves these big, grandiose success stories. So when he saw an opportunity to kill an adversary, he took it, and it's failed, and now Americans are paying the price for this stupidity.
Wait, hold on. But J.D. Vance definitely leaked that shit, right?
Can
we all just get a unanimous agreement? J.D. Vance leaked that. Crazy.
Yeah, probably. So from what I've seen, we go in, we strike them. It's going to be over in 4 days, whatever. And then he tries to say, "Oh, we've won," and then we're still blowing them up. And then it's just kind of like this weird, just straight up like lying, just making up bullcrap essentially. He has an act for doing something and then trying to back out of it immediately. What is that? I think there's like a term for that.
Taco?
Something like that. It did happen on Taco Tuesday, didn't it, last week?
Did it?
Yeah. That's when he was like, we're going to destroy an entire civilization.
Nice. Double irony. Love it.
Yep.
Wow. I remember when Joe Biden said that. Joe Biden must have said something remotely similar, huh?
Yeah, both sides. They're totally... I'm not even going to make the joke now. It's actually just indefensible at this point. Well, it's been indefensible for a while, but... Yeah, we have absolutely no reason for going into the war, basically, so what it sounds like.
Yes.
Yeah, theoretically.
We chose this.
Awesome.
It was definitely a war of choice. The super scary part, I know, like we're like memeing about, like it was definitely a war of choice, and in assuming the leaks are all accurate, I assume they are because again I'm 99% sure that came from J.D. Vance because he's pissed about all this. Like there's a reason for the war, and it's ultimately that Trump's ego is just so ungodly massive that when you have a figure like Bibi Netanyahu show up to you and be like, "Yo, dude, I have a surefire way, foolproof plan for you to become America's hero. Go down as the best president of all time." Like, that is not a thing that Donald Trump is capable of saying no to. He's going to say yes to that every single time, despite, I was going to actually say despite the fact that he has got multiple people in his cabinet that were against it, which is true, but the problem is none of them have spines, and so none of them will voice that opposition. You even see, like, unironically in the, like behind the scenes meetings that again J.D. Vance probably leaked. You even see J.D. Vance himself, he even talks about. I say he talks about. We don't technically know that J.D. leaked it.
It was him.
We don't technically know, but he leaked it.
Sure.
Even him was like, look, I really don't want to do this, but I can't possibly tell Daddy Trump that.
Of course.
Pathetic.
And I guess like the last thing I want to ask, right, is with all this happening, everything just seems super deranged. Like we're in like upside down world, like almost like 1984 with all just the 24-hour news cycle, all the crazy things. Something new happens every day. Why do you believe that anyone would even try to defend this administration when it's so self-evident it's indefensible.
Nobody is. You notice?
No one is, yeah.
Nobody is. You notice how ever since we started UFA, those of you that are watching now that have watched all the events we've done since we started, you notice how the amount of conservatives that now, like this one's.
No, but
there's outside factors here because like Destiny's not here at this one, but every single event it just tapers and tapers and tapers. The amount of conservatives willing to defend, because as he does worse and worse and worse and worse shit, like the even the notion of like coming up here in front of two people and defending them publicly, especially if you're like a student, and like there's an aspect of that that's understandable. If you're a student and you. Like Trump is indefensible. So if you're here and you got your like 6 of your buddies watching, what are you going to come up in front of a mic and defend the indefensible? No, of course you're not. So to answer your question, why is no one or why how do people defend it? They're not. They just stopped. They gave up.
Yeah. And those that are still defending the administration, I mean, it's clear that they have desires outside of what a normal person wants. They want
money.
Domination. They want to continue this imperialist crusade across the world, and they have an aversion towards a particular group of people that look a certain way. So essentially, whoever still likes the administration is fucking crazy. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, very much.
Yes, sir. Of course.
Bye.
You don't have to be a Trump supporter, by the way, to come to the mic. You can be America First. When you hop onto another slogan, you could be a Republican. It can be anything.
That's true.
Don't be scared.
I'll give them credit. The America First people, the Fuentes
Fuck
guys.
America First.
Well, like they're bad people, but they'll still come defend their ideology. MAGA people quit. They'll still do it.
Gotcha.
Okay. Apparently something happened to the camera, so they're gonna fix that real quick.
They're trying to sabotage us, the deep state.
All right, never mind.
What's up?
How's it going, liberal? It's nice to finally meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Let the whole world know who you are. Let the whole world.
I'm non-fun. I've been at a few of these events. I stream on YouTube and non-fun. You can watch a bunch of my debates. I've heard this organization is devoted entirely to issues of animal welfare.
Yeah, that's what I've heard that too. It's weird.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So I've come to ask if you guys have heard about the wonders of the Shrimp Welfare Project.
Enlighten me.
I should have clocked it. No, I haven't. Why don't you tell?
I didn't notice the shirt.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So shrimp are essentially the most farmed animal in the world. Somewhere between 440 billion to 700 billion shrimp are farmed every year. And the farms they live on are typically in pretty bad condition. So two examples I'll point out. One is female shrimp often go what's called eye stalk ablation, where they'll have their eyes either removed or crushed while they're still alive and aware, because it makes them more fertile. And that tends to have obviously problems for them, but as well as their offspring tend to suffer more disabilities and such. And then the way they're typically killed is in what are called ice slurries, where they're essentially buried alive in ice, and it will take them roughly 20 minutes of suffocating and freezing to death slowly in order to die. Seemingly very stressful, very painful for these shrimp. The Shrimp Welfare
Count me
Project
in.
is this wonderful organization. They essentially they work with farmers to provide them electrical stunning machines and to end eye stalk ablation, so you can instantly stun the shrimp before they experience this horrible, painful death. And because the number of shrimp being farmed every year is so big, a single dollar to the Shrimp Welfare Project can save roughly 14,000 shrimp over the next 10 years from experiencing this horrible, horrible, painful death.
Wow, that's super cool. Where can I go to donate $1 to the Shrimp Welfare Project?
You can go to shrimpwelfareproject.org.
Wow, so cool.
You should add it to the website every single time you donate to UFA. There should be like an extra. Do you want to send money to the Shrimp Welfare Project?
Dude, I have a custom link with them and everything now. They know
Amazing.
who I am.
Listen, I'll put it in my bio.
Yeah,
I'll put it in my bio.
I've
Send it to me.
raised like $600 for them or something. So I think, they know who I am by now.
$600. How many shrimp is that?
It's like, I think 8 million or something.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
That's the amount of illegal immigrants that came in under Joe Biden.
Yeah, that's one day under Joe Biden.
That's a lot of humanely sourced shrimp fried rice I could have. That's great.
Okay, well, I guess we can fight about this maybe. Do you guys think Joe Biden was too pro-labor, too pro-union?
Was too pro-union? Yes. Hold on, not for the reasons you think. No, I don't think he was too pro-union from a principled standpoint, but I think he was too pro-union in the sense that they all turned on him immediately when it became convenient to do so. So I think he should have just said fuck them and left them out to dry and given them nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not really. Okay. I think he, his pro-union stances are fine, but in retroact, knowing that they were all going to just stab him in the back anyway, he should have done nothing for him.
I don't have an issue with a president sticking by the workers. I think that's probably what we should be advocating for, but just not, listen, if the next Democrat president works with any of the unions that have stood behind Donald Trump when he gives out those speeches, like the coal miners making the clean, super clean coal, then no, definitely not. That's too.
Yeah, the Teamsters, they got to be. We're done with that.
Get them out of here. Get them out of here.
No more of that shit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like that.
Not from policy position point of view, but from like a fuck you position, like unacceptable, not allowed.
You just said a bad word.
Yeah, I guess so.
You're the woe back there.
What's the name of the tour again?
UnfuckAmerica.
I have the fuck you position too, but I'm generally concerned about Democrats. What I feel is kind of too, I would say, pro-union policies. I think, I mean, you say like stick by the workers. I think the important thing to recognize about unions is that a lot of them probably help some workers at the expense of other workers. So the clearest example of that is the Longshoremen's Union. Obviously, they're kind of in the extreme, but by refusing to, for example, do certain automations in the ports or whatever, not only do they, that'll secure their jobs, but that harms consumers insofar as it raises the cost of importing certain goods.
I'll give my non-meme answer. Okay, I'm done. I'm done with the memes.
Sure.
Okay? Although still fuck them. But no, the actual answer here is that ultimately, like, all unions actually are is just like they're just an organization to advocate for the for the best possible outcomes for the people that they represent.
They're
it's just like it's like we have like organizations like this in every other. For some reason, we treat unions differently. I don't know why that is the case. It is a politics thing. But they're just like any other organization whose like sole job it is to advocate for the best interests of their people. So insofar as you're like doing more for one group that represents certain people than you are for other groups, and I'm like, drawing the dichotomy between like being super pro-union and then like super anti like business. Like if it's insofar as like people do that, you shouldn't do that. They should be treated equally. But insofar as some like principled objection to being pro-union and doing stuff for unions, like I think that you shouldn't have that. I think it's okay to like be pro-union and do like positive things for them, pass legislation that benefits unions, as so long as that same treatment, that same like I'm gonna go out of my way to help you carries over to every other group of people that are just advocating for certain the positive positions for some certain group.
Yeah, I mean,
all I'm trying to say is if you're gonna be super pro-union, you should be super pro-business, and if you're gonna be super pro-business, you should be super pro like just do good things for everybody.
Yeah, sure. You shouldn't have like a broad acceptance of a particular thing, because like you mentioned, if the cost to produce is increasing or continuing to increase when there's clearly a viable alternative that will make it cheaper, increasing the producer and consumer surplus, then yeah, that'd be great. You probably should advocate for that. But again, it's like measuring the opportunity, weighing the opportunity costs of making those decisions. You should not co-sign a broad concept, because at the end of the day, there are going to be instances where it manifests in a way that's relatively negative.
I'm actually curious, because you're here specifically, and I know you're actually capable of like delving into specifics. I'm not used to those types of conversations with a ton of people. Like, is there like a particular like pro-union policy that Biden had that you didn't like, that you're like, this is sparking this from you?
I didn't like his appointments to the NLRB and some of the changes. I'm not sure like how much he was involved specifically, but my understanding is that generally Biden made it easier to unionize, made it easier for union elections to get certified, harder for companies to do kind of the union busting tactics that a lot of people don't like. Through his appointments to the NLRB, I wish I could list some more specific ones off the top of my head, but I know the NLRB was very pro-labor under Biden. People cite that as a positive thing, but like I guess just generally, I understand unions advocate for their interests like any other group or whatever. I just think insofar as the government goes out of its way to protect unions, which we obviously we've had laws in the book for a long time doing that to some degree, you're just generally going to harm, I think, like labor market mobility and companies' sort of willingness to hire people. And I think one thing that makes the U.S. special, one thing that makes us more innovative than Europe, one thing that makes us in some senses richer than a lot of other even developed countries, is that it's so easy to hire and fire people here. Is that workers don't get or aren't entitled necessarily to all the same benefits. As kind of bad as it sounds at first glance or whatever, Apple spent like tens of millions of dollars developing a self-driving car, didn't go anywhere. They were only able to spend that money because once they realized their project wasn't going anywhere, they shut the project down. Were able to fire those workers. I think it's like less than a year of pay to fire a worker, typically in the U.S. In like Western European countries, it's like 30 months of pay, and you have to give them all these benefits. In Germany, you can only fire people if like you can't fire people at will. You have to like have some crazy like justified cause or whatever to do it. That makes it really hard, I think, for companies to do the type of investment that ultimately I think benefits workers overall. It tends to increase their productivity, tends to give a lot of products to consumers that are really good. There is like, there are papers you can find that try to estimate roughly like how much innovation or how much richer Europe could be, how much more products they could develop if they had the same type of labor regulations as the U.S. or whatever. And I wish I could remember the numbers off the top of my head, but it's not insignificant. It's a non-insignificant reason why we do so much innovation, why there's so many tech startups here and other startups here. And I think that's a very important thing to protect, and Democrats seem to be moving in the opposite direction of that.
Yeah, I'm generally that was a long. There's a lot of stuff in there you said that I super agree with. For one, at-will employment is goated. All right, I'm very pro like just leaving employment as like an at-will thing. There's like one super minor change that I think I've thought about this like a decent amount. It's funny, like you're probably actually are the person because you talk about these types of things a lot. Because this is like a stream combo though that we'd have to have because it's too deep to go into here. There is like one like fire somebody like for like an at-will firing, which is like look, we fire somebody like for like an at-will firing, which is like look, we don't want you here anymore, and that employee like has like good sufficient reason. Maybe we give it like a probable cause standard to believe that it was for like a nefarious reason, maybe discrimination or some legally impermissible reason for the firing. We have like labor courts that work in like at a pretty low standard of evidence, similar to immigration courts. Like to get a deportation order, it's not the standard of evidence is very small. That the employer that did the firing just has to pay the attorney fees for the employee to take that to labor court, and the standard of evidence is super low. So it's like, hey, there's a, if all the company has to do is present like this is why we fired them, and if it's a decent reason that makes sense and isn't impermissible, you're good. That's the end of it. It's all over with. I think that would solve like a lot of those issues. Like, okay, well now like there's this whole another mechanism where if a company mistreats you, you can go handle it over here, and they have to pay for it, so it's not screwing the labor. Because that would be a fear I would have. Like, well, what if you create this, but then the employee can't afford attorneys, then you might as well not have created it at all. So just make the company pay for it. It shouldn't be that expensive. You don't have to hire $1 million an hour law firm to the extent those exist. But I think like you solve so many issues by doing like little stuff like that. Just like, okay, now we don't have to worry about this union shit anymore. Because now like you have like real protection. You can really go get your protections if you think you've been fired for a BS reason.
Sure, I get this.
By the way, that needs like way more thinking out. But I've like started stuff like that. Like, because I do totally agree with you. By the way, there are like some adverse incentives that unions create, but it goes back to the initial thing of like, well, it's just a group that's there to advocate, for the in the best interest of the people they represent. Well, the best interest of the employees is always going to be contrary to the best interest of the employers, and then both of them are going to be adverse to the consumers. So, yeah, there's like adverse incentives, but little stuff like that could solve it. We've got to think about it way more.
Yeah,
we should talk about it.
I just think typically the net effect of a lot of unions seems to be negative. I think even the wages point, this is like a little nuance or whatever. Technically, I think the best identified evidence does show unions reduce average wages, but the mechanism for that is that high wage earners, because unions tend to compress wages, there's essentially a type of brain drain that go to other firms that pay them more. So if you had like higher union density, that probably wouldn't be a problem because the other firms would also be unionized and compress their wages or whatever.
Yeah, all or nothing type of thing. Like if every single like type of or if like every single industry could unionize, like it would be better. But if like only some of them can, it's like, well, shit. Yeah. Now it's a weird world.
Yeah, at least in terms of average wages. But I think the issue would run into there if you had a really high union density, especially in the U.S. because we do so much innovation. I think you would just see consumer welfare go down, as well as probably in the long run, sort of the rate of wage growth would be slower. I think you do see that in Europe to some extent. But this would be a longer conversation. There are changes to union laws that might add some protection to workers or whatever that would be in favor of. But I think just generally, it's just much better to do what I would say is efficient taxes and then efficient redistribution, rather than the sort of what I would say are pre-distributionary policies that like unions are or antitrust is to some extent, because you can target a broader set of people with them. You're not like you're not saying we need to raise just the wages for the workers. You're saying, anyone who has low enough income, maybe because they're disabled, or maybe because they are working at a low-paying job or whatever, we just give them some type of redistribution such that they are above the poverty line, can provide for themselves. And then 2, you can just, I think, tax in a more efficient way. Not that necessarily in the U.S. we'd ever get the type of efficient taxes that I would like, but you can tax in a more efficient way than you can do like the type of redistributionary policies that I think have a lot bigger effects on things like investment innovation that like a DBCFT wouldn't necessarily have.
A lot of the like through line to your union stances, and you kind of like mentioned it like in the sarcasm of like not that we'd be able to get the efficient tax structure. So like how do you suppose we deal with issues like this? So unions are like, I feel like one of those issues where there probably are a dozen or 2 dozen way better ways to handle the exact type of issue that like unionization as a whole is even trying to get at, but everything, any of those policies that would like do away with unionization would be so ungodly unpopular that I think you'd never be able to pull it off. Just like I know, like I'm pretty sure that's what you're hinting at with like your tax stuff, right? It's like there are really efficient ways we could do taxes in this country, but all of them will be so unbelievably unpopular they will never happen.
Yeah, well, there's 2 problems. It's probably almost impossible to like make kind of a populist, widespread supported message about like the policy itself, like an anti-union policy or whatever. And then like the really like wonky stuff, like I said, DBCFT, destination-based cash flow tax. I can't imagine a politician ever saying that phrase to voters just because it's such a wonky, nerdy tax thing. There was a congressional hearing about it, okay? There's a chance. I don't know what the best solution is. I think Democrats need to do a better job at having what I would say are like, maybe not competent advisors, but advisors who are economists. I'll say that. We need more economists advising Democrats with regards to policy stuff. I think it'd be really difficult to make the messaging work. Honestly, I struggle with that. I don't know.
That is the issue. That ends up being the issue with like a lot of these. There might be way better policies, but like, and they're just like intuitively so unpopular. It's like feels impossible. I don't mean to like be dismissive, but like the second you're like, I have the issues with like these certain union policies, I'm like, well, tough shit, because like you're not doing anything to unions, and other than strengthen them. You can strengthen unions, people before that, but if you're talking about like taking away any sort of like union strength at all, like it's not happening. Good luck.
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
even if it is a good idea, it doesn't matter.
I don't know what the optimal messaging is. I just like reading about the optimal policy, but we can chat more on stream if you want to.
Oh, yeah.
But, I'm getting hot out here. So.
All right. Have a good one.
Thank you. Goodbye, liberal. Round of applause, please. Round of applause. Donate to the Shrimp Welfare Project and UnfuckAmerica Tour at UnfuckAmericaTour.com.
All right. We got to do a quick little battery change here. So.
Okay.
All right. So how cool are these horsies?
Pretty cool.
Beautiful, gorgeous, amazing.
Thank you. You're like perfectly in the shot.
Oh, are they? They're like right.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful shot. Cool. It's like they planned it. All right. So, who would like to step up to the mic and chat with Andrew and David?
Actual MAGA people.
Wait, there's got to be someone.
America first, MAGA. Anybody?
Pro war. Anyone?
Pro war. Yeah.
What do you think? What's the out of all the stuff Trump's done so far? Like, what's like the one thing where you're just like, yep, that's the worst. That's demon shit.
There's no camera on you guys right now.
That's okay. They can just hear my voice and his voice.
That's really...
and look at the horses.
Probably either January 6th and the election scheme.
Okay, this term.
Oh, this term. Fuck. This term.
Am I good?
Probably... Immigration, customs enforcement, and judicial defiance. Like, it's kind of all falls into like a blanket thing.
It's kind of, that's close where I was going to go. I said like all the just.
Well, it's tough because there's
tearing down the Article 3.
Well, from an institutional standpoint, targeting the Fed chair, launching vindictive prosecutions, going after Perkins Coie for what they did with Fusion GPS, all that stuff, and then defying the courts, defying the Supreme. That's huge, right? But in terms of loss of life and inhumane actions, then definitely immigration, customs enforcement, what they've done,
Yeah, I would say like optically, all the ICE stuff probably has like hit them. Now the war, like, they're getting optically annihilated there. But like optically, either like the war or ICE stuff. And then I would say, insofar as
this guy again,
insofar as the thing that I think is the worst, like long term, like this is going to be this is almost unfixable for at least like 20 years, is the hollowing out of all the institutions, right? The
Yeah.
DOJ's cooked.
Fired the inspectors general.
Yep. Cooked.
Everything.
Cooked.
It's so bad. So bad.
All right.
Was the
Ethan.
live stream on for that? Did they hear all that?
Well, yeah,
fuck.
they can
Well, they're
hear
all
us.
gonna be
They just
really
might not be able to see
pessimistic
us
now.
because we're
God damn it.
camera battery changing. All right, Ethan, what do you got? Go for it.
Hey guys, I was like a week or two ago, I had a discussion with another conservative called the moderate case, and I want your opinion on this. I made the argument that on January 6th, Trump attempted to destroy democracy, at least in relation to the presidency. He made the case, he didn't try to destroy democracy, he was just subverting it, right? Do you guys think on January 6th, did Donald Trump attempt to destroy democracy relating to the presidency?
Yes.
Or did he try to subvert it?
I think, like, definitionally so, right?
So wait, subverting democracy is destroying
Yeah.
democracy.
How did he differentiate the two?
All right. So I'll do my best to repeat what he said. But what Jacob said, he said, Trump isn't destroying democracy. He would still rule democratically through the institutions around him. So you'd still elect your senators and House representatives, right? But he's subverting democracy. And this is all stuff he said. This is not my words. This is what he said. He's just subverting democracy by saying, oh, I didn't actually win, but I won anyway.
Okay, that's definitionally stupid.
Tell me about it.
Well, the problem is
it was rough, buddy.
Once you steal one election, why not steal 2 elections? Why not steal 3? Why not steal 40 elections? You said, like, one of the examples I guess he used is like, well, you'd still elect your senators. But, like, is there necessarily a reason if he could steal the presidential election that he couldn't steal like 50 Senate elections too?
And they're trying, by the way.
Yeah, well, like, is there necessarily a reason at that point that once you've done it once, it's done. It's cooked.
I mean, what's actually really interesting is you don't have to even go that deep into it. I mean, you know what the Pence card was, right?
Pence card?
Yeah, the Pence card on January 6th.
No, tell me.
It was the idea that Mike Pence could unilaterally decide. Yeah. Which would mean.
Why'd you call it the Pence card?
That's what it's called.
Okay.
It's like your ace in the sleeve.
Okay.
The Pence card.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
So
Sure.
Yeah. The fact that the Pence in his ceremonial role could just determine who the president was. Yeah, sure.
Unilaterally, just like the entire vote of all Americans in the country essentially wouldn't matter with the Pence card. So with that, just to make sure I'm not crazy, I'm trying to be as good faith here. To me, it sounds like his argument was fucking insane.
Sounds like a load of bullshit, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's like every conservative argument ever. Well, every conservative argument ever. They might have like a few that are okay, but definitely not.
If anyone wants to prove us wrong,
definitely not.
When we say that conservatives are full of shit, then you can come up and we can have a conversation.
Because technically, like, to even like argue Jan 6 from the conservative point of view or from the MAGA point of view to defend Trump on it at all, you either have to argue in that way, which I actually don't even think like in that sense he's really not even defending Trump very well. Because even let's say I take your argument at face value. Okay, he's tried to subvert. Is that better? Like, it's still not good. Like, I don't know. So even if he like wins that argument, what does he want at that point? You won. He subverted democracy and didn't try to destroy it. But like to defend him from like any other point of view, you either have to make that argument, which is terrible, or you just make the argument that like those weren't his intentions at all. Like, he's like that's totally not what he was trying to do.
He unknowingly tried to overthrow the government.
He didn't try to he was just like chilling and watching TV for 4 hours while they were just breaking into the Capitol trying to kill people. So like the point being, this is like a completely indefensible position. So for you, it is funny for you to say like sounds retarded. Well, yeah, the only way you could possibly argue against Jan 6 from a MAGA point of view is to be retarded. You don't have a choice, bro.
It seems to be the case that I think about a third or a quarter of the entire country still thinks that the 2020 election was stolen.
Is it a third? Is it really that high? I haven't looked on the polling in this in a long time. Is it really that high?
A third to like a quarter, somewhere around there. But enough Republicans are willing to go along with Trump despite this blatant lie. And it concerns me. And I would love your input on this. What do we do about this? Like, how do we unfuck the entire narrative relating to this?
Ultimately it comes down to like a humongous restructuring of the entire media apparatus. The fact that I know there's an argument to be made that almost $1 billion is in fact a very big punishment. Okay, and maybe it is, but the fact that that's all Fox News had to do was to cure their entire liability for all of the lies, all of the Dominion voting systems lies. It was just like pay money and that's it. It's done
just
and over with
to
right then and
make
there.
sure, just to make sure that I understand, could you like explain what, like you said, Dominion and like $1 billion?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, what is this?
So Fox News, after the 2020 election, went on for weeks, months, to spread the lies created by Donald Trump, made up by Donald Trump, in an effort to steal the election, that the 2020 election was stolen, that Dominion voting systems, the voting machines had something to do with it. They were flipping votes. We could release the Kraken, baby. The Fox News pushed these lies in an effort to help Donald Trump steal the election. That's what they were doing. Now, maybe that's my interpretation. Okay, I think they were trying to help him steal the election. Ultimately, their internal rationale was because they were losing too much. They were losing too many viewers to Newsmax and OAN, who were in fact already telling those lies. Point being, they helped spread this conspiracy, which culminated in Donald Trump trying to overthrow the election on January 6th. And the mere fact, they were sued, by the way. You wanted the full explanation. They were sued by Dominion Voting Systems, and they lost that law. Well, they settled that lawsuit, but they were gonna lose that lawsuit. They were about to get crushed.
Yeah.
But they settled that lawsuit for almost $1 billion. But to me, that's an injustice. Okay, that is not okay in my eyes at all. I know a lot of people were happy. Do you remember, like, there was hype at that time, like, damn, we got largest settle. It was in fact the largest defamation lawsuit in history. At that point, it still might be. And people were really hyped. People were extremely excited about that on the left. Like, well, you got them. I think that settlement was an injustice. Like, there was a moral wrong that occurred that day. The fact that
it should have been worse, right?
The fact that they were able to settle out just for money. Like, you pay your money. By the way, a humongous corporation, right? $1 billion, like, it's nothing to scoff at, right? It definitely burned the pocketbook, no doubt. But the fact that you just toss money at the problem and the problem's gone, like, okay, you're good now, go back to doing it literally exactly what you were just doing. Now they have, like, they stopped the Dominion stuff. They're like, okay, we're not talking about that anymore. But the same exact type of thing, the same type of misinformation, the fact that they were just able to pay money and go straight back to it, like, there's no reason at all that everybody involved in that, in that whole scheme, every single person, like, we got in Discovery, messages from Tucker Carlson, from the other hosts at Fox, like, we know this isn't true. This is obviously bullshit, but it's helping our ratings, so we're going to keep putting them on. Every single person who knew that, like, they were just platforming lies and helping Trump to eventually, attempt to steal the election, there's no reason whatsoever that each and every single one of those people didn't have some sort of jail sentence attached to the end of that saga. The fact that it could just be, here's a check, fuck off, and it's over, like, no, absolutely not. So to answer your question, long-winded way, to answer your question, going forward, that needs to be the standard. You're not just cutting a check to get out of, these evil things you're doing from the media on the right. On both sides too, but like, we just don't have this issue. I'll be fair. Like, if there ends up being some left-wing, Dominion saga, then sure, toss them in jail for it, whatever it ends up being. But it just won't happen
in our lifetime.
It just wouldn't happen, right. Because we just don't behave in that manner, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, moving forward, the only way we get out of this hell is there needs to be real consequences. It can't just be the case that you just pay your way out of trying to ruin our country. You tried to destroy my country and you're just cutting a check and you're free and clear. No, absolutely not.
Absolutely.
I think to answer the question as well.
Yeah.
Well, obviously there needs to be institutional change. The fact that the President of the United States is actively trying to undermine elections and deprive you of your right to vote, and nobody here is enraged, nobody here is fearful of what is to come, that's not good. There has to be a cultural shift. I talked about this at UCLA. I'm probably going to repeat it verbatim. Where people appreciate American institutions, where people appreciate the rule of law, where people appreciate those civil liberties, and maybe ask for more, maybe want positive rights, to continue to build up infrastructure that can further protect the negative ones. Americans need to act. They can't sit idly by anymore and ignore the vicissitudes of American politics and sit by as their Democrats replaced by a Republican. While the violations of the rule of law haven't reached your doorstep just yet, it's hit your communities. The poor fiscal policy, the crazy wars in Iran, they've hit your bank account, and it's only a matter of time before something worse happens, and once that happens, it's going to be too late. So everybody needs to go out and vote. That's why the voter registration table's right fucking there. Go vote. The guy's gone. They did something to him. They stole him. That goes to show that's how important this is.
Trump doesn't want you guys to vote, so he deported our voter
You need to vote.
guy.
You need to be scared. That's the truth. You need to be worried. You have to recognize the magnitude of what's happening every single day to thousands of people. And maybe that will be enough to get you to the ballot box to speak out And if you don't, well, can't blame anybody but yourself for America falling apart.
What do you guys say to the people who think that both sides are ultimately the same or equal in immorality?
Objectively not. Like, I don't know. What do you want me to tell you? It's like objectively not true, trivially untrue, super easy to observe in real life. What do you want me to say? Wait, here's the first thing we can go to. Do we think that Kamala Harris would have sent, no matter who it was, undocumented, documented, I don't care. Do we think that Kamala Harris would have sent anybody to a torture prison in El Salvador? Do we think that would have happened? Do we think she would have done that? And I'm talking not from a pragmatic point of view of oh, well, the prison's available and Bukele said that, Americans can send people over here, so would she have taken the opportunity? I mean, could she have brought herself to do it from a moral standpoint? Could she have signed the order? Do we think that?
Probably not.
No.
That probably is wild, by the way. That not okay. That probably is not okay. Absolutely not. So when we talk about both sides are the same, there might be policy positions that both sides agree with. But that's fine. This is America. That's allowed to happen. Sometimes that's a really good thing. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes both parties or both sets of politicians from both sides of the aisle agree on policy that a bulk of the population is like, whoa, not cool. We don't like this. That happens from time to time. Not that much, but. In terms of policy, we might have moral agreements, but or we might have agreements on policies. Rather, there might be things that are the same on both sides in that regard. But in terms of morality, your goodness as a human being, absolutely not. In no universe is there any Democrat politician, any single person that's in my lifetime even ran for president, yet alone, and I mean in the primaries, yet alone been the actual last person standing in the general. None of them would have ever even thought twice about signing that order to send people to a torture prison in another country because they were here illegally. Cool, great. So go torture them. Absolutely not. Never. So no, they're not the same. Stop it. Don't ever say that again.
The easiest way to compare it is just by watching Joe Biden's State of the Union address and comparing it to Donald Trump's. Joe Biden was constantly talking about policy proposals. We could.
There's a train.
That's a bad faith actor right there.
Yep, the train.
Arrest that guy right now. The guy operating that train. Arrest him right now. He's such a bad guy. Oh my God. Okay, whatever. He dedicated that address to trying to bring both parties together. I'm not saying Joe Biden was the great unifier, but Donald Trump said the Democrats are crazy to their face. He voiced his disappointment for the Supreme Court's ruling to their face. And he said the only way the opposition party can win is by cheating. That's not what Joe Biden did. And that, I think, shows the contrast, the stark contrast between both parties and their goals.
Look, one small problem, though, that you have, and these are really interesting arguments from both of you. I do mean that. And I know earlier we talked about the Epstein files, how conservatives are protecting a giant cabal of pedophiles, the Iran war. But when we look on the left, we can see things like Kamala had a funny laugh. Joe Biden, he got sleepy twice.
Wow. He had a bad debate performance?
Yeah, he had a bad,
True. He was a monster, if you really think about it. If you really, just kind of ponder for a while, just really get in there, yeah, he was a terrible human being, yeah. You got me.
Jokes aside, though, he was called Sleepy Biden. He was called Sleepy Joe because we could sleep peacefully.
True.
Knowing that he was watching over us. I miss our man, Brandon. But, yeah, I would love to hear, and it doesn't have to be a debate, but it could be people who have, questions. So, for example, I'm debating this. If someone were to ask, people like to really fixate on the philosophy of, being transgender. Trump talks about this all the time. And honestly, it's a weird thing to hyperfixate on, but it's the thing that conservatives always want to talk about. I'll ask, how do you handle or respond when people ask about the question of transgender philosophy?
What do you mean? Like when you have conservatives asking if it's okay?
What is a woman, Andrew? What is a woman?
What is a woman?
When we get to what is a woman question, I just don't care. Okay, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
I'm not doing the whole philosophy of language thing. I'm not gonna do it. Is that what you're asking? Like, when like, should we allow trans people? What's the response to that?
What is your response when? Yeah, I'll like play like the. I'm asking on behalf of whoever MAGA is here. Right
well,
now.
generally speaking, I have no faith whatsoever that. Well, for one, I have no faith whatsoever that I'll be able to like change their minds at all.
Sure.
But I definitely have no faith whatsoever that I'd be able to change their minds with my reasoning. Like, you know, the way that I got to the position of like we should allow this. This is fine. Like let people do what they want. That's never happening. So I'll just try to pick up or I'll just try to like, you know, kind of borrow a conservative principle and just apply it back to the same situation. You know, whether I want to go like, you know, shouldn't we allow maximal freedoms? You know, shouldn't America be a place where you can just kind of do what you want and the government should kick rocks? Sometimes they buy that. Sometimes, well, no, sorry, let me rephrase. They never buy that because we're specifically talking about trans people. So they're never going to buy that argument, no matter how, you know, much it applies to some other thing that they value. I don't know. You ultimately just have to have like some sort of freedom argument, or that's the way I take it. Other people approach it from 20 other different angles, but I just usually take it from the freedom argument of you should be able to do what you want, and the government should have like very, very, very little say in what you can and can't do with yourself, with your own money, with your own time, with your own body. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless they have like a legitimate reason to, because then sometimes I'll have people that are like, well, then why can't I have an abortion in 9 months? You know, maybe not seriously, but like as a counter to me, I'm just like, because in that case you're hurting somebody else. But yeah, if you're not hurting anybody else, do what you want to do. That's the argument. That's the side I take it from. How do you handle it? What's your like philosophy on this? How do you take it?
I don't know. I just think that a person who's hyper fixated on the definition of a woman and a person's role and the way they like to express themselves, I think if that's your biggest issue, while they're, because it's going to be a conservative usually, while there is simultaneously a fucking Nazi loser that rots in his basement all the time trying to take over your fucking party, your priorities are not straight and you're focusing on the wrong thing. Trans people should be allowed and are allowed and will continue to be allowed to be who they are, be who they want to be, and express themselves in whatever way as long as it follows the law. Because America is a country of freedoms, but somehow the party of small government always wants to tell you what you can and can't do with your body, what you can and can't wear, and what you can't say.
That's another thing, by the way.
That's a huge contradiction.
That's another thing they stole from us, the small government thing.
Yeah. We are the party of small government and freedoms. Amen. Yes.
They want the government to be able to dictate every single aspect of your life.
Yes, yeah. I hate to see it.
They keep stealing stuff from us. It's so cringe. They got to stop. Get your own ideas, conservatives.
All right. With that, I'll go ahead and lead the mic again. Thank you guys very much.
Amen.
Wait,
round of applause.
Don't leave, because if you leave, I'm going to have to talk to Corbin, so.
Oh.
Okay, never mind. Get out of here.
He's going to get you guys. He's going to beat the crap out of you. Good luck.
A round of applause, everybody. Come on, let's get engaged. Let's get engaged.
What do you
want? Come on. Make sure you go to the voter registration booth, please. Oh, and fuck Nick Fuentes, too, if I didn't get that line across. If there's any America First, anybody at all who wants to wear that blue hat, let me know. Come up on here. We can have a conversation. What's up, sir?
What is a woman?
Your mom.
She is a woman. I agree. Yeah.
I don't know. Why don't you marry one? You'll find out.
Damn.
Unironically, the best thing Jordan Peterson's ever said.
Wow. Okay, so what do you think is the biggest stain on the legacy of the United States that Donald Trump and the rest of the MAGA movement will have?
Oh, God.
Like, after he's gone, what do you think he's done?
The biggest stain on
international relations.
Yeah, international relations. Here's what I would say. Yes, that is technically the correct answer, because it's like the actual stain on our reputation, because now the rest of the world's never going to trust us. But I think it's like slightly deeper than that. It's not necessarily like the bad decisions he's made in my eyes, as it relates to other countries. Turning all of our allies against us. It's funny how he acts surprised now that NATO doesn't want to help with the Iran war. It's like, yeah, well, of course, you spent the entire first year of your presidency trashing them in any way, shape, or form you could possibly. Anything you could do to belittle NATO or trash them, you took that opportunity, and now you're surprised they're not helping you. But I think it goes like a little bit deeper than just ruining all our relationships, and more so that he has demonstrated in a very clear and convincing manner to the entire rest of the world that you can never really be 100% sure that the U.S. won't just go absolutely batshit crazy the next time there's a little bout of inflation. I shouldn't minimize it like that. There were a lot of people that struggled during the COVID years and coming out of it. But imagine you're you're the leader of another country. Imagine you're the prime minister of the UK, and you're looking over at the inflation numbers at the U.S. Say we have a Dem president, Gavin Newsom, in 2028, and you're looking over at the inflation numbers and you're seeing it tick up, tick up, tick up. You're starting at that now in this reality that Donald Trump has crafted for us, or the conservatives in America have crafted for us. You're looking over at us with our rising inflation. And you're thinking, oh shit. not only are there, because ultimately the American economy ends up being kind of downstream for the for the rest of the world. If our economy's getting destroyed, theirs is probably also not having a great time. Not only are you having your own economic worries at that point, now you're looking over at us and you're like, oh my God, are they going to elect a Nazi now? Like, you have no idea. So now the rest of the world has now been shown that not only can the U.S. government not be trusted to make correct decisions that's going to be good for the world, but like the U.S. people, the U.S. population can't be trusted to make decisions that are going to be good for the world.
Mm-hmm. So,
and you'll never. That's not coming back, by the way. That's the worst part of it. That is not coming back. For the rest of time, the rest of the world's going to be looking over at us, wondering if they can trust us to not go batshit anytime anything bad happens here.
Yeah. See, I'm going to say essentially the exact same thing. Well, Americans have a very short-term memory, and the last time around in 2024, they decided to forget what happened just a couple years before when Donald Trump launched an attack on our democracy, on our civil liberties, and all the other fucked up shit that he did. The international community will not. They're moving away from America now. It's better for them to protect themselves. They're operating within their own interests because at the end of the day, a lot of countries do. I mean, that'll always be a part of your priorities, the interests of you and your people. The United States is not serving its allies' interests. It's doing the opposite. We praise authoritarian fucking leaders like Putin in Russia. We love Kim Jong-un. We love President Xi of China. He's such a great guy, Mm-hmm. President Xi of China, and he was such a great guy, right? I talked to him phone call. It was so great, right? So the international community will not forget these things. The threats we made to NATO, everything, the tariffs. So that is going to leave the biggest stain on the U.S. legacy because Americans decide to flip-flop from one Democrat and Joe Biden to a protectionist authoritarian and Donald Trump. So, yeah.
Do you think in terms of like you said, it's probably never coming back, the idea that America and its people are this monolith of, or this monolith of this of this like great superior society to the rest of the world. Like, we're probably not going to be looked at in that way anymore, as like a world protector, a world leader. We might be able to get back to number one, but there's definitely sort of that like underlying feeling of never coming back from what we had before Donald Trump. Just at home, how do you think we ensure someone like Donald Trump isn't able to get back into office?
Ultimately, there's like, democracy's great, okay? Democracy's a great thing, but in a democracy, you can ultimately never really be sure. Like I use it. I said, like, other countries will never really be able to be sure that we won't just elect a Nazi next time there's this bout of inflation. Like, I say that is like it comes off a little memey, but like that is true. Unfortunately, that is just the case. Like, anytime the domestic conditions are bad, there is always a chance that we're going to end up, electing some psychopath to office because we think that person will come solve it. And I don't really think that can go anywhere. You can do things to alleviate. We talked earlier about, like, kind of fixing our media environment. That's got to be fixed. It is kind of absurd that Trump can just kind of say whatever, make whatever promises he wants, and like that's just taken as the gospel. The current media framework and media apparatus is a large part of the reason for that. Whatever message he puts out, whatever he says, I'm going to do X, Y, or Z. All of right-wing, alternative, and mainstream media will carry that message forward till the end of time, or until he tells them to say something else. Think about, like, I think the easiest example to go to is always just going to be the wars thing, right? He said he was going to be the president of no new wars, and every single, all of mainstream media, all of alternative media, they push that, like, Kamala Harris is going to start a war in Iran. She's going to start a, you want your children to be drafted into World War III? Because she's going to start it. And that message went all the way up until the day he decided he wanted to bomb Iran. Then it was like, actually, this is like super duper based, and you should be like thankful that someone has the spine to do what needs to be done. Okay, Kamala wouldn't have had the spine. She wouldn't have had what it takes to do what needs to be done. So like, that needs to go. The heart of your question, though, is even if we were able to fix that, you ask, like, how do we make sure it doesn't happen again? The answer is you can't. You can never really be sure that the American people won't just do some dumb shit. But that's kind of it's our right and our freedoms to do dumb shit. So you hope for the best, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, poor economic circumstances do certainly influence people. Instances like that, like the pandemic, recessions, tend to highlight the structural inadequacies in this country's education. And that dates back prior to high school. It dates back all the way to your elementary years, your kindergarten years.
Are you saying we're dumb?
Yes, I'm saying okay. Listen, they're not the brightest, They're not the brightest, right? A lot of people, they're not that smart, right? And people like Donald Trump love it. They thrive off of an uneducated populace. So what we can do in the future, again, it'll be a cultural shift. It'll be greater investments into education, which I'm sure everybody generally agrees with. That can I think to an extent rectify the issue. But when a person's back is against the wall, when they're not making any money, when they're struggling to get by, when their family members are dropping dead because of a sickness, you never know. It's a very unpredictable landscape. But we can try our hardest to mitigate it or reduce the harm if, God forbid, something were to happen again in the future, similar to COVID.
The problem is there's always like that tiny chance that we'll just have like another COVID but worse. Like that's always on the table. We could just have COVID again and have it be worse this time, and then we're just right back here. Because I agree with him a little bit. We're kind of dumb here in the U.S. of A. We're a little bit stupid.
A little bit, yeah.
It's always on the table.
Builds character.
Good luck. But vote blue though, and then we can be good.
Thank you very much.
Vote blue no matter who, always.
Thank you, sir. Round of applause, please. Round of applause.
Yay,
Get
Corbin.
engaged.
Yay.
Get engaged.
All right. I'm going to pull both of you out of here for just a few minutes. And I'm bringing in Marshall and Kane. Marshall ran away. Here he comes. Okay. Kane, you can come on in. So I'm bringing in Marshall and Kane. Marshall is the NCSU president, and Kane is our UGA president. And they're just going to talk a little bit about National Ground Game.
Thank you. Hello. Oh, yep, we can hear that for sure. Hello, everybody. Oh, okay. All right, so I think I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but we did just start this semester, our chapter. We were kind of one of the first to get started. It's I think I heard you talk a little bit earlier about kind of the process, but since we're kind of at different ends of this process, we're started the semester and we built up, and now we're in our kind of culminating event. So maybe could you talk a little bit about because we're at the point where we're kind of in, we're going to ride the momentum of this event and kind of go into next semester. We got midterms coming up, so maybe give some people advice if they want to get a chapter started by next semester. What are some good helpful tips that you've been using to kind of get yours going in the beginning stages?
Most universities are prone to wanting you to start organizations and get involved to begin with. National Ground Game makes it really easy by emailing info at National Ground Game, I believe.
Yeah, is the right place. Definitely go to nationalgroundgame.com if that's not right, but I'm pretty sure that's correct.
And you'll get in touch with our chapter coordinators, and they'll set you up with everything. They're extremely helpful. They'll give you all the links, all the QR codes. They'll even search your university's website and check out some of the requirements that you need to start your own chapter.
And then I think you maybe talked about this a little bit before, and we kind of did the same thing. We had some overlap with value-aligned organizations such as DEMS and other folks. But yeah, kind of what I know. I kind of found some people in the Democrats to kind of I kept talking about it in last fall. I said National Ground Game's awesome, and I really want to start a chapter. We really have to start getting things done as liberals and really getting in there. But I guess where would you recommend that people maybe kind of hang around to try to get new recruits? Because I know we also got one of our recruits, Abbott. He was at the Will Witt event. And he did a really good job debating him. And then we kind of just ran into each other. I said, hey, National Ground Game's a thing. You want to come? So are there moments like that, or like where do you think you could go on campus for kind of organic moments where you could bring people in that way? Sorry, UGA, at your campus, yeah. And shout out your campus.
Go Dogs.
Nice. Wolfpack.
On campus, there's plenty of opportunities. Once you become an organization, you can post things like flyers up, start your own Instagram. I think digital media, social medias are extraordinarily important. We live in a digital age, an attention economy where most of the things that you do are going to be online. It's really important to be on those sites and getting the message out. Primarily through there nowadays, where you can speak to a broader audience, lower cost.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and everybody's got a phone, right? It's like you have a camera, so and that's the important part, because one of the things that the other kind of right-wing groups like to do is they like to, edit you and kind of, not include the parts where you were your strongest and include the parts where you look maybe at your weakest,
Yep, grew up on those.
Yeah, and as National Ground Game, we definitely want to change that. But it's important that kind of like everybody films, because not only if you get that right angle, you get that right clip that maybe somebody else didn't get, or if maybe some catastrophic happens and your phone gets deleted. I think it's important that every single person takes control of their own narrative, because then we can kind of take control better of the collective narrative, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It definitely does. I think I have a question for you on the topic about narratives. I want to ask why specifically you got involved with National Ground Game, and what kind of events in your life led you to that decision.
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, I like to talk a lot about this. I say that my inciting incident for fully switching to the left, after I'd already been listening to people like Destiny for a while, kind of being slowly converted, but couldn't fully bring myself to vote Democrat. Unfortunately, I'm ashamed to admit that I did not vote for Biden in 2020. But if I could go back and vote for him, I think he's one of the greatest presidents of my lifetime, certainly. So Joe Biden's awesome, and I would definitely go back and vote for him 100 times. But January 6th was my full inciting incident that got me in and fully committed to being a liberal Democrat. I literally felt like I was watching my country like collapse and fall apart before my very eyes, and kind of like not to be cringe and too wokey, but it was kind of emotional, because I was like, what happened to rule of law, what happened to the norms, and I think that National Ground Game is an organization that the norms really matter, and the way we treat each other really matters, and I think we need to keep having these conversations about it, and sometimes we might have to get a little radically honest, a little contentious, maybe say some things that get a little offensive or whatever, but we can't worry about that. We need to worry about the ideas, and I think that's what National Ground Game is about. That's what we try to be about: fighting misinformation and and being prepared and being able to go into these kind of spaces with honesty, with authenticity, and also with preparedness.
It's a great point. I don't really have much to add on to that.
I guess I was going to ask you. So you said you're just getting started. Do you guys? Well, I guess how far along are you in the process? Are you like registered with the university yet? Do you have like members? Do you have it on your roster? Like kind of like where are you in the minutia of the steps?
Yeah, we've got a couple members lined up already. We're in the process of registering the organization. A lot of these things are hyper-specific by necessity. They kind of have to be. There was one article in our Constitution during registration that was a little bit off, so we got
I think we were talking about that a little bit before this, but just as a pro tip, that seems to be a common kind of hurdle with the university is they want you to have a very specific naming. So probably just probably this is a good last tip, and then we'll wrap it up. But make sure when you start a chapter, try to call it National Ground Game at University, and the university probably won't give you much of a hassle, and then they won't return it to you. So pro tip from people who've done it already. But yeah, thank you. Oh, and make sure you scan the QR code to donate.
Hey, thank you guys. A big round of applause for these guys. All right, so we got some guys ready to come up to the mic, guys and gals. All right, and David, we'll get you in here. Go ahead. Yep, come on up to the mic.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
How's it going,
Trump is in the house.
Oh, yeah. So, I've heard a lot online about, I don't know if this is true or not. I'm not the most well-versed in politics, but you can vote without an ID. Is that a real thing?
Wait, can you repeat one more time? I'm so sorry. Closer to the mic.
I've heard online that you can vote without an ID. Is that a real thing?
I believe in some states you don't have to present ID at the voting place. Why? Are you advocating for the Save America Act? Is that the assumption?
I don't know what that is, but I'm basically questioning why is that not an issue in itself?
Because the individual voting has already gone through the registration process. They showed up to their DMV, the government office, their election office, registered to vote, and they're obviously they're registered. And on the back end, the government does their own verification process, typically through the SAVE database or something like that.
Okay,
so the individual showing up to vote is already a citizen, so they don't need to present ID at a voting place. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I have another question about immigration. I guess a discussion topic. Surely there's a better way to handle it. I mean, currently it's not the worst, but obviously there needs to be some steps in place.
Wait, what are you referring to specifically? Because that's really broad.
Yeah, it is broad. I'm saying
admission
it needs to
removal.
be handled in some way, because letting in hundreds of thousands of people, like from South America, Central America, specifically where these countries, obviously not all of them are bad people. A lot of them come to America with the intention that they're going to work hard, send money back to their families, live the American dream. But obviously with those people coming from South American countries, the cartels are a huge problem down there. They make obscene amounts of money off of sending drugs into America. So what do you think is a better way to filter out those bad people? Because obviously, no matter what, there's going to be some percentage of people that come in that are not here with good intentions.
Well, when you say hundreds of thousands of individuals coming into the country, are you referring to illegal immigrants that manage to subvert, get around Customs and Border Patrol? Or do you mean individuals that apply for asylum?
Undocumented illegal immigrants.
Well, it's going to be relatively difficult to try and give you like a good answer of how we could stop, because we can't end it. It's impossible.
Okay,
there will always be a good amount of people.
But we need to do something.
Yeah, it's already illegal to enter the country illegally.
Well, but people are still doing it. That's why ICE is a thing.
But do you want to deal with crime, or do you want to deal with illegal immigrants that aren't doing any harm? Because what you referred to was criminals, members of the cartel entering from South America and even Mexico across through the U.S.-Mexico border. What do you mean when you mention ICE? Because Immigration and Customs Enforcement is not getting rid of members of the cartel. They're targeting individuals seeking asylum. They're showing up to courts, pressuring judges to drop cases so they can just send people off to labor camps for their tattoos. Those are not...
I'm not well versed in that, but I'm going to disagree with that.
You're going to disagree with what I just said?
Yeah.
What's factually proven? Do you know the individuals that were sent to El Salvador?
I don't.
Yeah, so the United States sent around 250-ish people to a labor camp. Some of them were already in the United States. Some of them arrived. For example, like Luis Munoz Pinto showed up to the country seeking asylum because in his home country of Venezuela, sounds familiar, doesn't it? He was fleeing persecution. He was assaulted by officers while protesting, and he was coming to this country in search of a better life, in search of stability. And that was taken away from him. He was profiled at the port of entry and sent off to a labor camp in El Salvador. What's happening right now is not normal immigration and customs enforcement. They're going way far past it, and they're committing illegal acts, depriving individuals of their dignity, their liberty, risking individuals' lives. I mean, you've heard about Renee and Alex Preddy, even killing U.S. citizens.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But to your question of threats to public safety, while not every single illegal immigrant poses a threat to public safety,
I agree.
Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or some entity, if that were to be removed in the future, should be replaced by something that uses its resources, which are not infinite, they're finite, which the Trump administration does not believe because they're throwing fucking money at ICE like there's no tomorrow. They need to target actual threats to public safety, members of the cartel, not go after easy targets to rack up numbers because they have a quota to meet.
Okay. All right, that's all.
Is that another question? That's it?
Actually, I do want to talk about one other thing.
Go for it.
So this is a little off topic, but social media, I have a gripe with social media. Basically, I think it's a virus that's literally just taking over the world, and it's so easy to be controlled and manipulated, specifically with bots, bot farms, and there's also some statistics saying the majority of content out there, like comments and a lot of posts too, are just purely made by AI.
That sounds like the Russia hoax. That's what that sounds like. You know?
But
That's what that sounds like.
basically what I'm saying is, do you think that's an issue? Have you thought about this at all?
Yes, actually. I think social media tends to thrive off of divisive content. Like if I were to call you a fucking loser, that's going to get 1 million views. If I have a regular conversation about policy, it's probably not going to do too well on the algorithm. That needs to change. It is predatory, and it's created an even bigger divide. I'm sure it's contributed to extremism. I'm sure when people see, if you're either a conservative or you're a Democrat, when you see Nick Fuentes filling up your feed, you're going to start thinking that everybody around you is a fucking Nazi loser chud that just sits in his room all day. And if you see a liberal, communist, radical leftist that wants to destroy America, you're going to start thinking that Joe Biden wants to destroy America. So I recognize that while social media can be a tool for great change, you can get a message out there, great things can happen, it can also be a bit of a threat. So I advocate for, I call on social media companies to better regulate and change the video diet of the average American, because nobody wants to be fed divisive rhetoric. You want progress, you want informative content, everybody says that. But at the same time, people vote with their likes, and everybody tends to like the fucked up shit, so.
All right, thank you.
Of course, man. A round of applause. I never got your name. Noah? Nice to meet you, Noah.
Radical, no. Round of applause for Noah. Yeah. Round of applause. There you go.
Hello.
How's it going?
Hello. Good. How are you?
Great. What's your name?
I'm Preethu.
David.
Nice to meet you. I just had a question. I just want to hear your take on affirmative action and what you think about that, and then also like the Supreme Court ruling that happened, I guess, a few years ago now.
When you say affirmative action, do you use it like a catch-all term for all diversity, equity, and initiative programs, or?
Just like mainly in like college admission stuff.
I tend to side with the Supreme Court's decision. I feel like I agree with their determination. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have the same?
They want DI for everybody. You know?
I don't think it was a perfect ruling. There was probably some like things overlooked, but yeah, generally speaking, that's probably the right direction to go. Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't really have.
But I love DEI, don't get me wrong. I want everybody around me to be a minority. I love diversity. It is our strength, so whoever says otherwise, you can come to the fucking mic and we can have a conversation. But I believe that there should be accessibility to employment. I believe that everybody should know they have an opportunity to get a fucking job.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's it. But we care about merit. Don't forget, it's a meritocracy.
Yeah.
Unless you're talking about the Trump administration, because they could fill the cabinet up with the fucking lazy drunk. They could fill it up with a guy that does cocaine off of toilet seats. Is that what he told Theo Vaughn? RFK?
RFK, I don't know.
So yeah, they could do whatever they want there. But when it comes to the average person, DEI fucking sucks, you know?
Yeah, well, I wasn't expecting you to just agree, and I think
I love DEI, though.
Do you think there's a reason why there's a perception that, like, I don't know, people on the left want, just minorities like that? I guess that's...
conservative media.
Yeah, there you go. They've captured the messaging. They've captured all these words, and they've shifted them and destroyed them into meaning something completely different from what was initially intended.
Because Fox News and Donald Trump told you that that's what we all believe, so now you believe that that's what we all believe.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's obviously not true, and I think,
Hey, man, did you just deconstruct that preconceived notion in real fucking time, liberal?
Sure.
Yes. Amazing. Round of applause. Anybody? Damn, you guys are not doing shit. Fuck.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't have anything else. Thank you
well,
so
make
much.
sure you vote blue.
Okay, thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Love you so much, King. Bye. Anybody else? Anybody else? All right, there you go. There you go. I love that energy.
there,
Fuck
boy.
yeah, bro. Fuck yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. You see those? You see those great guys over there? They're such great guys, you know.
Those are all my boys right there.
Those are your boys.
Those are my boys. Yeah,
you say boys? How old are they?
Old enough.
You don't claim
old
them.
enough, someone say. Old enough. How you guys doing? I'm Carlos.
I'm doing great,
Nice to meet
Carlos.
you.
Nice to meet you.
And I was just curious what you guys' take was on our current immigration policy.
I believe it's inefficient and it's resulted in a lot of harm that didn't need to be done, all because Donald Trump manufactured consent because he sold you a lie that 30 million radical illegal immigrants were released from Venezuelan fucking mental institutions and jails, when that's not really the truth.
My actual question would be, what immigration policy? It seems like we kind of just don't have one. The immigration policy is just give ICE a bunch of money and let them run buck wild and just see what happens.
I agree with that. Like, I do think there needs to be a reform with our with how ICE is conducting our immigration policy, but I do believe that we have the right to enforce our immigration law. If you come into this country illegally, you do not have a right to be here. You shouldn't be protected under our laws, and our taxpayer dollars should not go to you, especially in these sanctuary cities. I'm from New Jersey, so I grew up right outside New York City, where a lot of taxpayer dollars are going to illegal immigrants, and they're being put up in houses and such where there are people here who don't have that, like, that need to be taken care of, that are U.S. citizens.
Sure, you said that you said that something about not, especially these sanctuary cities, these evil sanctuary cities. What do you think that is? Describe to me a sanctuary city.
Well, sanctuary cities, Chicago, L.A., New York.
Yeah, not like the places. We know those.
Yeah.
Basically blue cities. But what's the policy? What's the underlying, like? What do we get when we say sanctuary city? What are we getting at? What's the underlying policy there?
Oh, that these immigrants are just safe from our immigration law, and that they are protected. They are humans. They have rights, but there's
Trump doesn't think so.
Also, that's all I needed to hear. You're having the same issue that the last guy is having. You got Fox News or you got Trump. Sanctuary cities have nothing to do with. It's not. This is a sanctuary city, and therefore immigration laws don't apply here. When we say a sanctuary city, when the mayor of Chicago says Chicago is going to be a sanctuary city, all he's saying is that they're retaining the choice to hand over, to hand a person over to ICE. They're not saying we'll protect you. If you're here undocumented, you can come here and we'll never hand you over to ICE. You'll never be deported. Nothing's ever going to be no immigration law is ever going to be applied to you. All we're saying is this is a place where we retain the choice. Okay, so if a cop arrests you and we want to punish you ourselves, I want me, the district attorney of Chicago, I want to be the one to take you to court and put you in jail. I'm going to do that. Or if I don't, I'm going to hand you over to ICE. It's about choice. Sanctuary cities are about leaving the local law enforcement the opportunity to take the case on themselves, give their version of justice, or give them over to ICE and let a deportation happen. It's not a blanket protection, but you've been Fox News and Donald Trump have told you that that's what it is, and so you're just like, oh, that must be what it is.
Of course, also, do you you're saying that these cities, they have the ability to whether or not they're going to hand them over to back to where they're from so they can be prosecuted, or if they're going to be prosecuted here in the States. Why is it that they are why do the cities or wherever they are have the ability to say, hey, we're going to prosecute them here even though they're not U.S. citizens?
Shouldn't they? Shouldn't that be what happens?
Don't you believe that states should have some level of agency in the way that they manage the people living within their cities, their counties? Not
even that. I'll take a state sovereignty argument all the live long day. Not even that. Let's say an undocumented immigrant killed your mom, and this happened in a red state, right, where they just give everyone over to ICE. The cops hand everyone over for deportation. Wouldn't you be a little bit pissed off if you knew, say, that person was from somewhere that ultra corrupt, like Venezuela or something? Old Venezuela. It's the same Venezuela. Wouldn't you be ultra pissed off? Someone an undocumented immigrant killed your mom. They get deported back to their home country, and their home country's like, I don't give a shit. Kill all the Americans you want. What? You're free to go, dude. I don't care. Would that not piss you off a little bit?
Most likely, yeah.
Yeah, of course. So that's why that's the exact reason that sanctuary city policies that we've let it's partially our fault on the left. We've allowed Fox News, Donald Trump, these conservative media people. We've let them twist the idea of what a sanctuary city policy is. But sanctuary cities, I'm very pro sanctuary cities. These policies are good. This is the correct policy to have.
Yeah. What else? Let's see.
Nothing on that? Just gonna walk away from that as fast as you came up here?
Really quick, do you think it's better to deport a criminal to another country or to have them in jails here where we know they're not going to commit more crime?
I mean, it's hard to say. I feel too, our criminal justice system is also flawed.
What makes you say that?
The fraud 34, they target me for nothing, right?
Just disproportionately, there are more minorities in our prison system. But
does that say anything about the actual criminal justice system itself?
Maybe it can.
It could, but on its own, does that mean anything?
It might not.
Of course not. No.
But I do think that our justice system it might not be perfect, but I do believe it's one of the best we have.
I agree.
Yes. So then why'd you discredit
one of the best in the world? I trust our criminal justice system way more than I trust Venezuela's criminal justice system, okay? So if you have undocumented immigrants over here killing American citizens or, trafficking shitloads of drugs in here, I want my criminal justice system to deal with them. And if sanctuary city policies allow for exactly that. If our policy is unilaterally across the board, every single criminal that we find is an undocumented immigrant, they get handed over to ICE, they get deported. I think you're going to see a lot. Actually, I don't even have to use a hypothetical. We've literally seen this in the Trump. We've seen the Trump administration do exactly this. What was it? The boat they blew up. They've been doing those Venezuelan drone strike on boats, and one of the people that.
You can come up. You guys can come up. You guys are heckling us from the corner.
Come up here and get on the mic.
But you're not up here.
One of the.
Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Get on the mic. Come on. He's like the Democrats.
Sorry, I'm gonna finish this. Two of the people that survived those strikes were, recovered by the Coast Guard, brought over here. Well, there was an actual deliberation that took place of, the Trump administration says they were trafficking drugs. Says that, no proof. There was a deliberation. Should we keep them here and prosecute them, or should we send them back to, was it Venezuela? I don't know.
The Venezuelan drug boats.
Yeah. So the decision was made to send them back to Venezuela. The Venezuelan government released them instantly. They're free to go. Are you okay with that? Let's say, we never took them to court. We never even tried to prove it. But if those guys were trafficking shitloads of drugs to the U.S., are you okay with how that played out? They just go back and
honest,
they get released.
The truth is no, it's not.
No, of course.
So sanctuary city policies make a lot of sense. But we've framed them, we've allowed them to be framed by conservatives in this way that they're always bad. You have to examine the underlying policy. That's why I asked you, when you say sanctuary city, what are you saying to me? Because nobody actually knows what it is.
No, of course. Like, I mean, honestly, like I'm a political science student, so like we hardly ever.
You should know that.
Yeah, we do, but we hardly ever talk about it. Like realistically, like it's just something that's not.
Hey, look, just because your professor doesn't actually teach you about something doesn't mean you can't learn it yourself.
That's true. That's true. But I mean, most of our class discussions do not end up leading back to the actual.
I'm aware.
Well, apply to what you learned. Apply to what you learned. In political science, you should be familiar with tactics employed by administrations, by liars, to take advantage of the masses whenever they feel that their life or their safety is at risk. And that's what the Trump administration's done. They painted this picture that, sanctuary cities are just places where immigrants can run rampant and kill poor white women and set them on fire and murder them in the subway stations. That's not the case. Republicans have done more harm in sanctuary cities than sanctuary city policies have done to people. Greg Abbott shipped off 100,000 immigrants against their wishes to these sanctuary cities, and that resulted in the death of people like Sheridan Gorman, which the administration is now weaponizing to blame Democrats. So the only people that don't care about public safety, the only people putting Americans at risk, is the Republican Party.
I think we just need to take the name back because the name has a negative connotation. You hear
Sanctuary City.
You hear Sanctuary City, and the natural conclusion is what you thought they were, right? That's the natural conclusion of that word. They should just be called say that word for me.
Prosecutorial discretion.
Thank you. Prosecutorial choice states. Or cities, rather.
Yeah, that definitely sounds a little better for sure.
That's a way better name.
Yeah.
that's what they should be called from now on. That's what I'm calling them from now on. Well, I can't say the word.
I'm taking back sanctuary cities, though. I love sanctuary cities.
There you go. Can I ask you guys another question, if you don't mind?
Of course, yeah, go for it.
So a lot of our class discussions lately have been about like political polarization, left, right, liberal, conservative. What do you guys feel? I mean, prior to Donald Trump's first presidency has like really been the main driver of political polarization in today's climate.
Before him, what was it?
I'm saying like leading up to him, and like prior to him, like the divide wasn't as big or wasn't as covered as what the media produces today.
Social media, ultimately, unfortunately.
His introduction also brought about it's because Republicans have always been bad faith. Even before Donald Trump, they accused Obama being a fucking crazy communist when, I don't know, he wasn't really doing shit that was too communist. But Donald Trump acted as the megaphone to all the crazy rhetoric that was said in private discussions about their opponents. He openly called he would make fun of the bludgeoning of Paul Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi's husband. He said, well, the fence didn't hold up there, huh? What you thought? They had a bad wall, He makes fun of political violence. He wields death as a tool. He lies all the fucking time. And he paints this picture that America is so fucked, all because of Democrats, by the way, fueled on lies. There's no politician that does these things. As a matter of fact, let me ask you, think of one.
One that does what?
One politician that talks and communicates like Trump.
There's probably no one that really comes to mind.
Exactly.
Bro.
He's uniquely bad faith and fucking disgusting.
Yeah.
And he almost single-handedly has managed to destroy American politics and bring about an even wider divide between people like you and I, like us, who really have no disagreement. We want proper allocation of resources. We want criminals apprehended, and we want people to have their dignity and their rights. But Donald Trump throws a wrench in the whole equation. It makes you believe that we're fucking crazy when that's not the case.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot. We just got done reading the Hollow Parties, and it was a really interesting concept. I thought that like we can have very loud red, blue, like everyone's kind of just like screaming at each other, and that there's just this massive gridlock caused from Trump, what they're kind of referring to. But I mean, like, what do you guys think about like that concept that like the parties in itself are hollow, that they really have no function, that there are these huge outside players really dictating policy in the United States?
What are you trying to say?
It's the
who's the outside player? Who's the outside player? Say it. Just say it.
Oh, the deep state. Yeah, we talk about the deep state.
He's doing the deep state.
Come on, bro.
Ultimately, you could see this comes up a lot when people talk about campaign finance, right?
Yeah.
We talk about how should we handle people being able to give money over to campaigns. This outsized influence that people seem to think lobbying groups have just doesn't seem to actually bore itself out into policy. There's here's a challenge I would have for you. Can you name one issue that is supported disgustingly broadly? Everyone's like, why do we not have that? Holy shit, why do we not have that? That is just doesn't happen. We just don't get it. I'm going to take that as a no.
Yeah, probably.
He's
not.
like Biden. You
Because
know?
we
He's
do,
like
we do
Biden
this thing in
right
America.
now.
We like to pass off. We like to pass off blame, or we like to assign blame to outside entities. We're like, well, it's not our fault that this is not getting done. It's someone else. Some other force is doing it. But ultimately, it just is the case that if wide enough, a big enough swath of the American voting base, I should add voting base, because it's not just about the population. Like, your voice means nothing if you just don't vote. If your voice doesn't get represented in those vote tallies, you don't matter to politicians, at least, right? But there's just no issue that like huge percentages of the American voting base like really wants, and it just doesn't happen. People like to point to like healthcare issues, like, well, everyone wants Medicare for all. Not really. When you actually dive deeper into those polls, like as you start to tweak the language of polls, the support falls off a cliff pretty quickly. So no, like, I do not believe that there's these outside entities that are just pushing the politicians to do everything. Now, if you want to talk about Trump, that is kind of the case, actually. But it's because, like, I said earlier, he's a special snowflake. He really is in that regard.
He loves Benjamin Netanyahu.
He really is a special
We talk
snowflake.
about that a lot. Like, he's very much a unicorn, and it kind of like throws a lot of like my professors and classmates through a loop, because everything he does is very unprecedented, and you try to understand why he does what he does and why he says what he says, but it's very unique. And
I have a lot of empathy for for students that are in like government classes or poli-sci in college right now during this time. It is really hard to learn like underlying principles and like how the government actually works when none of it is functioning as it should be during the time. Because normally, during normal times, as you're learning something in class, like this is how this works, you would just look to real life and you would see that thing functioning in the way that you're being taught it functions. You can't do that right now. When you're being taught about how the separation of powers, right? You're talking about like this branch does this, and then you look to real life and you're like, no, like it seems like the executive branch just does everything. Congress doesn't do shit. The Supreme Court only matters when Trump says it matters. Like, empathy. I'm sorry you're in the position you're in right now.
Oh yeah, of course.
Hey, thank you so much, man. What was your name again? Carlos. Nice to meet you, man. You should ask your friends to come up as well.
Oh my God, he's got the.
Come on, everybody! Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Come on. Come on, guys.
Hey,
how's it going?
Good.
Love the hat, dude. Love the hat.
Thank you. I appreciate that. My name is Mason. You guys?
Nice
Andrew.
to meet you, Mason. I'm David.
Andrew and David. Nice to meet you guys. I just wanted to ask about. I'm a very leftist person. I'm not trying to waste your time or try to like fight you guys on anything.
Then what are you doing here? I'm just joking. I'm joking.
I'm here to rage bait you from the further left.
Go for it.
No, I was curious about you guys' thoughts on like how much the government should be doing and how they're doing it wrong. Like the government might overreach in some areas where it's not really their business. Like when it comes to LGBTQ rights, the freedom of expression, and all of that, we might be limiting people in a way that's really not. There shouldn't be an argument in the first place. Like in an ideal world, I think that the government should really be focusing on providing for the people's health, for the well-being of the people, making sure that nobody has too much power, and we're really in a position where the government isn't doing any of that, and we're focusing on a lot more other areas that harms our general population and only aids kind of the upper echelon of Americans.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of Americans tend to feel the same way, that the government focuses a lot of their time trying to curtail our civil liberties than expand them and their scope. I know the Trump administration's been doing that a lot. But there are places where I believe the government can play a bigger role. For example, healthcare. I don't believe the private sector and that profit motive is well equipped to deal with life and death. But again, there's also other places where the government should not play a role. I think Americans and people in general should not just accept broad principles that don't really, they're not at the foundation of what this country is. Because government intervention's a thing. It can expand in certain places while simultaneously pulling back in others. But yeah, that's the general broad answer without boring you with a bunch of fucking bullshit,
Yeah, my answer to this is extraordinarily simple. I think the executive branch should go exactly as far as Congress allows them through legislation and the people desire. And then Congress should go exactly as far as the people desire and the Constitution allows them. And then we can amend the Constitution if there's enough support, which there almost certainly will never be again. So that's how far everyone should go and what they do government-wise.
Amen.
Amen. What do you think about so America has the highest number of billionaires out of any country. I think we have, the number was 1,060. 1,060 billionaires in America. We have hundreds of thousands of millionaires, a lot of wealth concentrated to this circle of people. Do you think we are doing enough to limit their power or to redistribute that wealth
I think people. There can be an expansion of social safety nets. I tend to agree. I've mentioned it a couple of times in passing. I'm for a single-payer option. I don't think the private sector is well equipped to provide individual solutions in that particular area of the market. But taxation should be increased. But this idea that we should do it in pursuit of getting rid of all billionaires, if it happens, it happens. If you create a company that's so incredibly popular and does a good job and people love investing in it so your wealth grows and grows and grows, I don't think we should necessarily attack that, right? But it should be difficult, and it is difficult. But at the same time, it's a function of the entrepreneurial and financial success, the business success of this country, because while we have the most number of billionaires, we're also the largest economy, right? But we should increase taxation, we should increase social safety nets, but this idea of ripping the money away and like distributing it, no, obviously it'll be the legal way, etc. You get what I'm trying to say?
Do you necessarily, like, does it shock you that the most like unbelievably successful country on the planet has the most amount of unbelievably successful people? Doesn't that track perfectly?
It does track perfectly. I'm not saying that's an issue.
Okay.
I do think that I don't think a person who has a couple billion in their pocket is inherently a bad person or an evil person. I think when we start to get to the level of the people with hundreds of billions of dollars that intentionally use that money as a form of power to try and like levy things in their favor and start playing in the hands of government.
Say his name, just say it.
Elon Musk, Benjamin Netanyahu.
Fuck Elon Musk.
Anybody who has that amount of money and uses it for power shouldn't be in possession of that wealth, and nobody should be able to have that opportunity in the first place.
Listen, while I agree, just from an emotional standpoint, that I fucking despise Elon Musk, and I think, yes, he did use his money in a way to do more harm. I totally agree. He played a role in the 2024 election. But do you think that the government should be granted the authority to expropriate capital from an individual who hasn't committed a crime?
I don't know. I do not think that's the case. And I'm not saying we should do that as like a preemptive strike to prevent somebody from committing crime or abusing power or bribing anybody. I'm just saying when that becomes apparent, there needs to be something in place to maybe prevent that, or maybe we need a closer eye on our government officials to prevent them from being swayed by people with wealth.
Sure, we have we had mechanisms for this.
We had inspectors general.
We have like things in place that are meant to prevent, exactly what you're describing. Like my mind immediately goes to like the emoluments clause of the Constitution. Like the president's not supposed to be able to get any wealth beyond what he makes from his salary in the office. But the problem is, like, what do you do? How do you solve the issue of the exact person who's supposed to enforce these things? Well, technically Congress is supposed to enforce these things, but Congress has no spine. So in terms of actual like laws and stuff, like what do you do when the guy that's supposed to be enforcing the laws just decides not to because it helps him, because it's good for him to not do so? Yeah. What do you do in that?
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
The answer is you make it too big to rig. You go fucking vote. Everybody needs to go fucking vote.
I agree with that.
Yes.
Yep.
There you go.
There's like one more like underlying thing here when you talk about like we have too many billionaires, like should we tax them such that they can't be billionaires? I feel like for the exact same reasons I will always criticize conservatives for treating deportation or like immigration enforcement as a punishment when it is definitionally not a punishment. I think the same criticism applies to the left when you guys not that you're necessarily doing this too badly, but there's a lot of this talk on the left of using taxes as a punishment when it's definitionally that is not what taxes are. Taxes are not to punish wealthy people exactly in the same way that deportation is not a tool to punish immigrants.
And I 100% agree with that. I don't think taxation should be a punishment. And like you said, if a person has a product that people enjoy and their company grows, they should not be punished for making a lot of money off of that. I just think that as it stands, the distribution of wealth, even in the budget we have in the government right now, is not as effective as it could be.
Listen, sure. I agree. I think we need a government that works for the people and not for a certain few. I agree with that. Just on principle, yeah.
I think I'm done here.
Amen. Thank you.
I really appreciate
you coming on. Can you spin the hat? Can you spin the hat? Amen, everybody.
Amen.
That was so good.
Have a good one.
That was a good one.
Hey y'all. I'm Ethan. Nice to meet you guys.
Ethan?
So I want to talk about the Second Amendment because I have seen the left particularly start defending that much more recently after Alex Preddy and after Trump threatened to take away Second Amendment rights from transgender individuals. And I've definitely seen this, what appears to be hypocrisy on the left, especially when it comes to the Second Amendment. So I'm curious about what your take is on it.
You know, it's really weird. It's almost as if we saw a switch in terms of sentiment towards the Second Amendment, individuals like right to own guns. Because Donald Trump, when he was talking about Alex Preddy, his whole administration said that he showed up with a high-capacity, semi-automatic, 9mm assault weapon, trying to commit the most possible. Now they sound like they want to get rid of the Second Amendment, and then Democrats are saying the opposite. I think the reason why, with, by the way, a number of civil liberties, you never saw Democrats talking about the Constitution every single fucking day and its importance. I think that's a positive thing. And while you could consider it hypocritical, I look at it more as an evolution to deeply appreciate those civil liberties that we now see the use for, to speak up against a tyrannical government, an authoritarian taking advantage of people. Now, to see that there's a way that we could defend ourselves from an abusive federal government. So, while it can be hypocritical, there was a change in policy. I'm for regulation, but I'm not for getting rid of the Second Amendment. I think it's a good thing overall that Democrats are starting to appreciate the Constitution and those civil liberties more.
Yeah. It's the same reason that like liberalism, for the longest time, liberalism as a political ideology has been like really, really tough to defend. Well, it's actually never been tough to defend, but nobody does it. Nobody defends the political ideology of liberalism. Just like maybe people on the left didn't defend the idea of the Second Amendment as much as they should. When things are going really, really well, it's like hard to find like good, it's hard to look out at the landscape and see like, well, this is good and this is good and this is good. But when things are going really, really bad, you start to appreciate things a lot more. And now it's like, oh my God, isn't the Fifth Amendment so awesome? Isn't the Second Amendment so awesome? Isn't the First Amendment so awesome? So yeah, now that things are going like really, really awfully, we have like a much deeper appreciation for these things, and maybe you'll see more defense of it, from your left-leaning political pundits or politicians. But one thing I think that's important to keep in mind, especially if you're coming at it from a conservative perspective, is that while you might see you might see us defending these things more because we're appreciating them more as things get worse, nothing changed. The actual fundamental ideology never really changed. It's not like Democrats were like anti-Fifth Amendment, anti-Second Amendment, anti-First Amendment 4 years ago, and now we're like, damn, this shit's pretty cool. We should change our minds. We always had these ideas. You just don't see people defending stuff when times are good.
I would argue that there actually was definitely a big change, or at least a more returning to what the Second Amendment actually states, because we have, like, even right now, if it is so bad, then why are we still seeing Virginia, Washington, Minnesota, and California pushing these assault weapons bans, pushing magazine capacity limits, carry rights, and everything, even post-Bruin? It's just, if it really is as bad as a lot of the more left-leaning media is trying to say, why are we not seeing this whole more of a coalition of people from all across the political spectrum protecting the Second Amendment?
Yeah.
It's just, it's definitely like, even looking back at like Harris' 2020 run versus 2024, she was very, very, very much for completely banning like assault weapons, which aren't assault weapons, but and we see like this, it just seems like a lot of shifting just to get the votes. I don't actually think personally that the left is all that keen, or at least the political left as far as the elites go, all that keen of protecting the Second Amendment.
Yeah, I think the assault weapons ban stuff is like super stupid. I live in Virginia, so I was very upset about that. I pushed as hard as I possibly could to get as many Democrats elected into our state house in the 2025 elections, and one of the, immediately they're like, all right, we're banning these assault weapons, and I own rifles, and I was mad about it. I think a lot of that just stems from captured like messaging. At somewhere along the line, even though the stats do not bore this out at all, not even close, it's actually quite the opposite. Somewhere along the line in recent history, the kind of like zeitgeist on guns was captured by this idea that like AR-15s are uniquely dangerous and uniquely bad for society, and they are worse than everything else, like almost definitionally. That somewhere that capture happened, and we haven't been able to break out of it yet. Apparently, I learned that the hard way as soon as an all blue house came in my state. But I don't necessarily think that like says anything about the principles of the Second Amendment. I do not agree with this. I want to be clear. I do not agree with this. I was very upset about that assault weapons ban. But there are a lot of Democrats that like there is a colorable argument to be made that you can very easily still uphold the principle of the Second Amendment and then just take out like one class of weapons, be like, okay, we can't have those, but the rest of this is fine. So I don't necessarily think that undermines the principle. We are still defending the Second Amendment. Most Democrats are, even if you see some assault weapons bans here and here and here and here.
Okay.
And also, nobody can even define what an assault weapon is anyway. It's stupid. It's dumb. Yeah.
Amen. Yeah, I agree with that.
I half expected Trump to invent the term assault pistol after Party.
A semi-automatic
he did try
maximum
banning
damage.
bump stocks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Listen,
that's the one thing that I would point to on a federal level. Like when like states, this is the purpose of states. We want this is good when states do stuff like what you see. Like I'm mad about the assault weapons ban, but this is exactly what they're for, to test out different things in different states. That's the reason we have state sovereignty. So Virginia can do whatever it wants with guns, and Texas can do whatever it wants with guns. But ultimately, on the federal level, who do you see? What federal politician do you see being the only person who has banned anything gun related in the last 2 decades or decade? Fucking Trump, man.
Exactly.
The bump stock bullshit.
It goes to show that civil liberties don't matter to Trump unless you're using them to speak out against the radical left.
Oh yeah, no.
You use the Second Amendment, you show up and you kill 2 legislators who do that, and it's fine. I don't have a problem.
That's how I would close this line of dialogue. Exactly on that point. If you value these rights, if you think they're important, if you think it's important to maintain the Second Amendment, the First Amendment, Fifth, all of it, then you might see some states doing some shit you would not like, but federally speaking, Democrats got it's not even close. It is not a close competition.
We love our Constitution.
Democrats will protect your rights way more than Republicans will. Trump has demonstrated that more than anybody probably in American history.
I'm not entirely sure if I agree on that, but I'll let the person behind me go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's been taking a while.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you, King.
thanks, y'all.
Have a good one.
Hey, man, peace out, liberal. Round of applause, please. Round of applause, everybody.
We love him so much. Goodbye. Oh, he bowed. Wow.
How's it going?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
Doing great, liberal.
I'm not here to debate necessarily, but I want to shift the conversation maybe a little bit. You guys are out here dogpiling on Trump, telling everyone to vote blue.
Amen.
Both of which things I agree with. But I think it requires a certain amount of cognitive dissonance to not recognize that the situation we are in presently, in which we are totally fucked. I agree with your shirt. We need to unfuck America. I don't know where to start with that. We're fucked. But the situation we're in is substantively a result of the failings of the Democratic Party to address the needs of working people, of everyday people, going all the way back to 2012, with Obama, going to Clinton in 2016, to Biden in 2020, Harris in 2024. And so I think while your message is valid, and I agree with it, telling people to vote blue when the Democratic Party has not substantively changed and will not substantively bring new results to the country is dangerous, because that's how we got ourselves in this problem in the first place. And if in 2026, in the midterms, Democrats take over, 2028, we win the presidency, but we fail to deliver on the issues that Americans are really concerned about, we'll put ourselves back in this cycle and end up with, who knows, someone crazier than Trump, because people will be upset about, the issues.
Yeah, we literally both said this earlier. Yes, if when we're in 26 we're gonna clean their clocks. Right. In 28, theoretically, hopefully we win. We both said earlier, if we don't use that power wisely, then we're just gonna end up right back here. Yeah, we agree. I will say though, hold up. I will say, if your critique of us, like,
I'm not critiquing you.
Well, if the argument here is that by saying that everything is fucked and it's Trump's fault, what we are doing is removing the onus from Democrats, to have not made certain decisions that put Trump in office. Isn't by you shifting it back to the Democrats, isn't that removing the onus from Trump for his ridiculous behavior?
He's having an introspective.
Aren't you now saying actually it's not Trump's fault that he's a psychopath and makes only bad decisions? It's actually your fault.
Well, I'm assuming you mean the dissatisfaction amongst the American people.
Yeah. To me, it's so self-apparent that what Trump's doing is insane. It's so harmful for the country. I realize for everyone that may not be the case. Some people may find a twist to how to somehow support him. And
anybody agree with that? Anybody support Trump? Anyone?
We call that delusion.
So I won't take up too much time, because I know that's who you really want to debate.
Yeah, we'll see if they come up though. They seem pretty hesitant.
To me, it's like, okay, Trump is horrible. We need to move on. But if we come to 2026 and we still have Schumer, Pelosi, Booker in the leadership, there's some Democrats that I think have their heart in the right place. I like Ro Khanna a lot. I like AOC. Mamdani has done really well. I like him. But if we end up with the same leadership, and I don't know, Newsom in 2028, I think we're hardly, maybe we go back to the status quo, if that. But we can't. We can't. So Trump undermined the status quo. He deconstructed the powers that be. We need a Democratic Party that will reconstruct it in a liberal, in a progressive way, and not a centrist way. So I agree. I don't know.
Both of us agree with this.
Okay. So
you need the Democrats need to wield power like Republicans do. They need to wield power like they're never going to get it back. They need to expand the Supreme Court. They need to pass insane legislation. It must be done.
Okay.
Because if not, then it's fucked.
We're on the same page. So I'll leave you. But 2028, who's your endorsement?
It's too early.
James Salarico. James Salarico, please run.
I need to see this primary. There's certain things I need to hear certain politicians say before I get behind them.
To give you an answer, I would love for James Salarico or John Ossoff to run. I think they can get the victory, but we have to see.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Amen. Thank you so much, Liberal. Thank you. Round of applause, please, bro.
Yay.
Fucking hell. Well, the Trump supporters over there, if you guys want to come up and have a conversation.
Yeah, probably.
Do you guys think that they should come up and have a conversation?
Probably last chance.
Come on. Come on, everybody. Come on. Don't be scared.
We're almost wrapped up.
You can
here,
come
so
talk to your
last chance.
president, you know. Come on.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I don't want to. Come on. Come on.
Someone's got to have something to
Defend what you believe in. It's okay.
Well.
There you go. Well,
wow.
I guess not. There is no defense.
Wow.
What do you have to say, Amy?
The silence is deafening.
I have to say, scan the QR code for those streaming and donate to.
Oh, you must be
National Ground
working with the
Game.
Unfuck America tour. Wow. Come on, guys. Come
wow.
on. Come on.
You guys suddenly just went very quiet. There was a lot going on out here like a minute ago.
Yeah.
Come on.
I think I said it earlier, but I kind of there's a degree of understanding that I have. Like it is not possible to give like an enthusiastic and accurate defense of Donald Trump right now. I don't know how you'd pull it off.
I mean, they still support him. They were ballsy enough to raise their hand, but I guess not ballsy enough to come up and have a conversation, defend their beliefs.
Well, like if you told
don't be scared.
If you
it's
told
okay.
me to do a triple backflip right now, I'd just be like, brother, you're out of your mind. I can't do that. It's the same position.
Twist yourself into a pretzel, I guess.
Same position they find themselves in.
It's okay. Well, listen, everybody. The voter registration table is right there. So if you want to ensure that you overpower their vote, unless they come up and have a conversation, you go register to vote. And you go vote in the midterms. You engage in your primaries. It's incredibly important to ensure that the damage that Donald Trump has done in this country does not continue. So, looks like the MAGA's scared.
Big true.
I think
it looks like they're scared.
Maybe we can have Marshall and Kane come on in there and just say one last.
Amen. Yeah.
Yeah.
The chapter.
Huge shout out
Passing
to
the torch.
Marshall and the whole NGG chapter here for putting this all together for us.
Round of applause to the people that made it possible, guys. Hope you guys enjoy it too.
If you want the tour to come to your college, your city, then make a chapter.
Mm-hmm.
We'll make it happen.
Go to nationalgroundgame.com and.
Yep. nationalgroundgame.com. Make a chapter at your school, and we'll figure out how to get to you. We'll make it happen. So.
It's gonna be the last time I talk to all the people. Is it
been fun?
It is.
Well, guys, I love you all so much. Donate to the Unfuck America tour. Everybody, if you want to continue seeing us do this across the country, it doesn't matter who you voted for. We still love you. We'll take you in. I'm looking at you guys right there. Please listen. Come to the bright
chance.
side.
Last
do the
chance.
right thing. What do Republicans say? Be on the right side of history. I'm joking.
Look at that.
I love you all so much. Thank you for turning out. Goodbye, guys. Bye-bye.
Oh, we have someone. Oh, David.
All right, what's up?
Come on in.
Hey, y'all.
What's it going to be? Why'd you decide to do it just now? I just gave like a fucking heartfelt goodbye.
Sorry, I was eating my lunch.
I'm joking. It's
Finishing
okay.
up my orange chicken. So, yeah. I'm Tyler.
Nice to meet you, Tyler.
Hey. Yeah, nice to meet you. So the main thing that I want to talk about, you mentioned earlier that I think the way you kind of phrased it was that you don't think that the private healthcare industry is equipped to deal with life and death. And I want to kind of preference my argument by saying that I think everyone deserves healthcare. I think I'm actually a type 1 diabetic, so like if I didn't have healthcare, I'd die, and like that's obviously a bad thing. So kind of just preferencing it with that. But I would kind of push back a little bit, and I would say that like especially when you start looking at like Canada, the UK, Australia, these countries that have more of this like publicly funded universal healthcare system, it doesn't work. People die waiting in line at the hospital, and you just don't see that in the U.S. And I also want to say that I don't think the U.S. is a perfect system at all. There's a lot of problems with it. I can tell you, again, as a type 1 diabetic that pays like, I don't know, $12,000 a year for health insurance, that's definitely not the solution either. But I would say that like I don't want to be dying in line trying to get my insulin.
I recognize the concern. Don't get me wrong. And obviously, if I'm advocating for a policy, I know the counters. The reason why countries like Canada, for example, tend to have relatively long wait times is because not only do you have to go to one doctor to get a referral, I think you should change that. You should go to a specialist if you need one, right? Second of all, they don't have the infrastructure. They don't have the doctors. They don't have the nurses. If you want,
but why is that? They're not funding the doctors, right? Like, there's no incentive to be a doctor.
The government should invest and make it easier to go to medical school. They should make it easier for you to engage and care and be a part of these career
Do you
paths.
Trust the government to do that, though? I mean, you look at the VA in the United States, and like, I mean, doctors don't want to go and be a doctor at the VA because they get paid less, right? Like, in a private system, like, all of the best doctors. I mean, you have people coming from these other countries that are from these universal healthcare systems that are paying like a ridiculous amount in taxes for the universal healthcare, and then coming to the United States and like if they have the money for it, of course, and coming to the United States to get their surgical procedure. And like, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't want to live in Canada right now, man. Like, that's.
Yeah, well, it's like you tend to ignore Switzerland.
Yeah, no, and Switzerland's actually, they have a private healthcare system.
It's not a private healthcare system.
Yes, it is. The way that it works, I actually just did a research project on this. All of the hospitals are, I actually completely agree with the Switzerland healthcare system. I mean, any healthcare system is going to have its problems, but I actually just wrote a paper actually on the Swiss healthcare system, and I don't know if you could necessarily implement it in the United States, just because 330 million people versus a few million, or I don't know their exact population, but the way it works, and I would definitely advocate for the system of like, you basically have private health insurance, and you have private hospitals, and then the government basically just subsidizes anyone that can't afford the private health or the private health insurance. So like, you have private like health insurance.
They also
companies.
have those changes. For example, like you don't need a referral to see a specialist. And they have what is it? It's 4 doctors and it's like 30 nurses per 1,000 people. And they do tend to share. There's more government intervention there. And when I say a single payer option, it's a solution to an issue that I believe needs to be checked up on, because the private sector and the profit motive does not align with the
But the reason the Swiss healthcare system is because it's still private.
It's heavily subsidized. There's a lot of government intervention.
Sure, but the people that are running it are profit incentivized. The reason that they're able to hire doctors is because they have the money to hire those doctors because they're profit incentivized.
But the government reimburses a lot of administrative, medical, innovative.
The only people that they're reimbursing are the people that can't pay, or like at the very bottom, I think it's about the bottom 15% of income earners or something along those lines that can't pay for the health insurance. That's the only government subsidies that are going on here. And by the way, it's still ridiculously expensive. It's way more expensive than the United States.
Do you recognize why I say that the private sector is not well equipped to deal with healthcare? Because the demand for healthcare is inelastic, which allows them to abuse and set prices way higher, because individuals are willing to pay an infinite amount of money to save the life of their child, their own life, for your medication.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm a type 1 diabetic. I understand that, man. You don't got to tell me that, man.
Yeah, listen, the single payer option doesn't have to be the solution. It's a paradigm shifting policy that required a lot of political capital to be able to achieve. But the general principle is, the guiding principle is that the government should play a larger role in healthcare, because firms tend to not align with that person. If they have a profit motive and they can set prices incredibly high, why wouldn't they? We see it everywhere. I pay, if it wasn't for a fucking coupon, I'd be paying $400 for my fucking Vyvanse.
Yeah,
Without that, I can't go to school, I can't fucking study, I can't do shit.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that, man. Like I said,
how about we come to, do you think that we could subsidize healthcare?
Yes, of course. And that's what I completely agree with the Swiss system. Like I would have I just wrote like a 10-page paper on this of like, I think the Swiss system is great. Again, I don't know if we could implement that in the United States, but I definitely think that we could take a lot of inspiration off of the system that they have, because it works. So that's something that a lot of countries can't say, especially like universal ones. So I don't know.
Well, it's like, okay, we can see the conversation, but it'll be on like trivial disagreements.
Okay, what do you think about Obamacare? I think Obamacare is horrible. I think like if you go back to like 2004, for example, or before Obama, and you look at how expensive health insurance was, and then you look at what happened to the industry after that, it basically forced all of, at least to my understanding, I mean, I wasn't born yet, so like I don't have first experience, of course, but to my understanding of the situation, basically what happened is it forced employers to basically, at least in the United States, be like the main contractor for health insurance, which forces like, I don't know. Number one, it makes it so that if you're a health insurance, maybe I can wait for this train.
They're
to go
trying
by.
to silence you. Oh my God.
Train, bro. The train has no chill.
All right, I think we're good. So yeah, to my understanding of the situation, it basically made it so that if you weren't getting your health insurance through a company, so it's basically making it so that, you know, if you aren't employed, then health insurance is so ridiculously expensive, which is how it is right now, that you can't afford it. So the way the American system works right now, because of Obamacare, is basically like, if you're not employed, like, you're cooked. And like, that's not a good system, and that's because of Obama. And
Yeah, if you're unemployed in general, you're fucked. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a good thing. So I understand that it helps a lot of people. I'm not on the Affordable Health Insurance Act. I've never really been a part of that personally, but like, that's the history. So like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider myself like a proponent of Obamacare. I won't down a hill to say this is the greatest achievement, but again, like you mentioned, it insured how many Americans? Upwards of 20 million?
I couldn't give you the exact number.
I could have sworn it was 20 million. I don't remember the exact number at the top of my head. So, well, it did increase costs simultaneously. And again, I don't really know. I can't speak to the relationship because I'm not well read on the ACA. So I can't really tell you in detail. But what I do know is that we have seen increases in prices. But simultaneously, you saw tens of millions of Americans insured. So, well, obviously, I'm advocating for a different healthcare system. So I see its inadequacies, but I can't really give you a rebuttal.
All right,
there.
cool. Well, I didn't mean to. Oh, were you gonna say something?
I think one of the things that people forget about, we love to punch down on Obamacare. One of the things that we don't really think about that often is Obamacare was never really meant to be the end all be all. Yeah. Obamacare got exactly, or Obama with Obamacare got exactly as much as he could get with the coalition he had at the time, right? He pushed as far as he could push it before he would have lost that final vote to tip it over the edge. And it was never meant to be like, okay, this is our healthcare system now. That's what we got. Hands up, we're done. It was always meant to be added to, amended, reformed, all that stuff. I think we kind of discount like how over the last like couple of years, it's Trump's fault. We've just lost we can't do big stuff like that anymore. It's just not possible.
I would argue that even if you could, you shouldn't, right? Like I don't know.
What you're talking about definitionally is like big changes in the healthcare system, right?
Sure.
So you think we should?
I don't want to expand the VA, for example. I don't think there's veterans that go to the VA, that have access to the VA that are paying. And there's Americans paying taxpayer money for the VA, and they don't go and use the VA because it's crap. I don't want that.
Sure, I use the VA. The VA is great, in my experience.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't have personal experience.
I know you don't. Everyone has everyone has a subjective experience. You might hear from one guy that it's terrible, and you might hear, I'll tell you it's great. Like I've had only positive experiences, only good things, right? So that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. You don't want the VA going because some people have told you it's bad. I'll tell you it's great. I want it around.
All right.
Okay.
Neither one of us have statistics to back our arguments up, so I don't know.
The VA doesn't
That's exactly we shouldn't just go slashing stuff on vibes.
Sure.
Well,
that's what they do. Okay, we're not the vibe people.
Did the Trump supporters leave? Are they gone?
They're gone.
Wow, would you look at that? What a bunch of
let's keep the conversation on track, man.
No, I'm
Stop
sorry.
bringing up Trump.
My bad.
Well, Obamacare, it was supposed to be changed. We just can't change legislation right now, which is why we need a big sweep.
I think you should speak to the VA.
What's your beef with the VA? You said something about VA doctors earlier. What was that?
There's a lot of, again, this is just personal experience. I have some emergency medical physicians that I know that work within the VA that are I want to leave, but I don't have any other option, and they don't want to be there. They want to go work for a private. And if you go look at another country, again, Canada, Australia, the UK, the doctors, there's not enough incentive for these doctors to go become doctors in the system, and then you have massive shortages.
Wait, but you recognize that we have a shortage of doctors and nurses in America?
I'm saying it would make it worse. You can go. I mean, at the end of the day, you can in the United States, you can go at any point in time to a hospital and get care. That's not the case in Canada. That is just straight up not. You cannot go to a freaking Duke hospital and show up in the freaking emergency medical care physician, whoever you are, and get care. That's a problem. That is an issue. I don't want that system. I understand there's a lot of problems with the American system, but at the end of the day, you can go and do that, and I think that is successful to some extent, at least more successful than a single payer system.
I'm confused about what your hold on, let me ask a clarifier. What is your issue with VA staffing necessarily? It sounded like you said two things kind of at once, that it's hard to incentivize doctors to work for the VA because they can make more money in a private system.
I think that fundamentally, there's, of course, you have exceptions, but within specifically healthcare, anytime that you have a government-run system, it's going to be inefficient and you're going to have problems because there isn't really an incentive there. Like, I mean, there's just like, I mean, fundamentally, it's like big government versus small government. But like within the healthcare industry, if you go and look at countries that have a single payer system where the whole country is run by the government, like that's a problem. And I mean, you can see it like DMV, for example. No one likes going to the DMV, right? Imagine if the same people that were freaking going and making you spend 2 hours in line getting your driver's license were the same people that were trying to give you like life-saving care. Like
it's almost as if you're making an argument for the government to expand the services and invest more into the services that most Americans tend to rely on when it comes to identification, when it comes to medicine.
There's a difference between the government running it, though, and the government subsidizing it. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Do you understand that part of my
there's a
argument?
substantive difference, but like...
Sure.
I'm sorry, I must have misunderstood, because I got the vibe that you say that individuals go to the... Like, would you want the DMV to be a private thing?
I think that's getting a little off topic.
Well, is it?
I mean... No,
Seems
because
like you
it's
just have beef with government run.
Yeah, that's exactly what you said. You said that you just when someone goes to the DMV, they say it fucking sucks. So why would you want them in healthcare? Are you saying every government agency is bad?
No.
Okay.
I'm just saying that whenever we should only have, and this is very much a fundamental argument, but we should only have the amount of government that is absolutely necessary.
That's a little vague.
So now we're off.
I agree.
It's a little off topic.
You notice
Again,
that
we're going. You know, I want to try to keep it on healthcare if we can.
Well, even on the healthcare topic, you notice how we've just completely you were arguing like efficiency before. Now we've gone to like role of government now. So do you not have beef with like the efficiency of like government-run healthcare at all? Or you do? And
no, I do. That's my whole point. Is whenever you have something that doesn't need to be controlled by the government, and it has to do with life or death, that's an issue. And you made the argument before that you think that private healthcare does not have a place in life and death. I'm making the argument that public healthcare does not have a place in life or death, as proven by Canada, Australia, UK, a bunch of other European countries that have the single payer system. It doesn't work. People die in line all the time, and that's just not something that you see in the United States. That's not something that you see in Switzerland with these private healthcare models. So, yeah,
well, here's the thing. The governments you mentioned do not engage in as much reimbursement or subsidy as Switzerland does. I'm sure if Canada appropriated more of its budget to building up infrastructure, expanding human capital, we'd probably see better outcomes. But the United States doesn't do any of that. We tend to ignore healthcare. Or just... we have
arguably the best, like...
hold on. When I say the quality of care is great, and a lot of Americans tend to agree that it's not too bad. There's a couple of inadequacies that they would like to see changed.
Of course.
But when it comes to the criticism of the single-payer option, don't you think America is capable of providing those reimbursements that other countries are incapable of doing so?
Yeah, I mean, that's my argument. I think we should have the Swiss care system where you have...
Because I don't really have an issue with the Swiss care system. I was doing research on it recently.
Yeah, I thought we were done. As soon as you guys agreed on the Swiss stuff, I feel like that covers... stuff for like the general population. I just wanted to. You seem to have beef with the VA for no reason.
He fucking hates veterans. He hates veterans. Wow.
Everything. It seems to be the case that every single reason you've given is just vibes on vibes. There's no reason. You just.
What statistic have you given me,
man? You just got bad vibes. Well, I can tell. Like you're like going off of this guy told me this and it's bad.
What are y'all going off of?
I can just tell you it's goated as someone who uses it. It's good stuff, man. Here's what I'll tell you. The VA does have issues. I'll get that you're not wrong, but it's still. I'm still a big fan.
Sure.
Literally undeniably, I don't know how you'd ever fight this. I can't give you stats, but like just the goated healthcare in America is like military healthcare for like active. That is the goated healthcare, and if like everything ran like that, that would be pretty cool. But we'd have no money left.
I don't know what you want me to argue against.
Yeah, I just don't know why you got beef, bro. What do you just hate?
Because he hates veterans again, bro.
I don't want to be
you hate service members. Wow.
He secretly hates the military.
A similar thing than the VA and just die a lie. That's my beef with it. One of the things. I mean, the VA is better to my understanding, than like Canada. Like
it's better than not having healthcare at all. That's for sure.
I agree.
So. It's just like a supplemental thing. I don't know. I took beef. We should get rid of it. Why? It helps people. Some people get screwed.
Is there anything else you want to talk about?
I think that's it. Thank y'all for coming here. I really appreciate this. I think that one of the biggest problems that we have as a generation is being stuck in these echo chambers and not having these conversations. So I really appreciate y'all coming out here today and having these conversations. It means a lot. It means a lot, man.
Of course. Hey, we'd love to come back, but...
Yeah, it was great talking to y'all. Have a good day.
Hey, man, you better join the fucking NGG chapter if you love it so much. You better. Whoa. You better. Round of applause, everybody. Amazing. And go register to vote, because we're about to leave. Go register to vote if you're not already registered. Okay.
What?
Is that it? Are we calling it quits?
Yeah, we came back.
Is it Jover?
We came back because that guy wanted to talk.
Are we done?
Is there anyone else that would like to talk before we wrap?
Any MAGA. One guy. Oh, my God. There you go. Round of applause. Holy shit. You better be MAGA. You better be. Yeah.
Don't worry. I won't disappoint.
How's it going, sir?
Good, bro. How you doing?
Doing great. What's your name?
All right. Denny. That's my name.
Okay.
So, we had a lot of good questions tonight, but I thought they were kind of niche. I wanted to get down to
talking to the mic.
Sorry, I'm not used to being on a microphone.
Okay.
My question was, what is an American? Who is an American? Who gets to be an American in your estimation?
What do you mean? That's really vague, right? You know that?
No, I think it's pretty specific.
No, it's not, because you could be like referring to a legal definition. If that's the case,
Okay,
then
who gets to be an American citizen?
Well, we have affirmed that just soli principle. That's also extended to, I believe, if you're born to American parents on different soil, you'll still given. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, time and time again, legal precedent has shown that we've affirmed that just soli principle, that anybody that is born within the jurisdiction of the United States is a U.S. citizen. So that's what it is.
Okay, I mean, we can have a conversation about what constitutes legal jurisdiction. Like, the Supreme Court is currently ruling on this, so we'll see what the law decides about it for now. But I think
oral arguments does not sound good for your side.
But you recognize that pending
Maybe not, but I would say intuitively, somebody who is not a legal immigrant to the country, who comes into the country and then, like, literally birth tourism's a child into the U.S., is not really under the jurisdiction of the U.S. It's probably a form of fraud, honestly.
Define under the jurisdiction thereof. Define under the jurisdiction thereof.
I'm not going to make a legal argument because I'm not a law student.
But you're criticizing the legal position.
No, I'm criticizing the principle. I'm not
Which is the legal position, what I just told you, right?
Regardless, once again, this is literally an open question. It's currently being decided.
All right, yeah,
but what
it's not an open question. Well, pending that
it's currently open.
Pending that opinion by the Supreme Court, we adhere to current precedent, and current precedent has constantly reaffirmed.
Thank you.
What'd you say?
I understand how precedent
works. Then why'd you just mention? Oh, well, we're waiting on the new decision.
I'm asking you a principled question, not a legal question.
The principal question is that we should not have a second class of citizens, and I like birthright citizenship.
So we should only have one class of ccitizens, which is just citizens.
No. So when I say second class of citizens, that means that they're not going to be given the same protections as others. Because you know that just the subject of the jurisdiction thereof also applies to the Equal Protections Clause, right? Do you think that if you're an illegal immigrant, you shouldn't have the same equal protections, or the child shouldn't have the same equal protections? Should there be a NICU where two children are not given the same rights?
I think that if you're an illegal immigrant,
I think that you're not answering my question. I think you're not answering my question. They call that a contradiction, sir. That's a bad one.
Let me ask you another question.
So bad.
Do you think that everybody who currently resides in the United States should be a citizen?
No.
No.
Okay, why not?
What do you mean? Why not?
What do you mean? Why not?
I mean, why do you not think that everybody
you don't just get citizenship?
He just asked Bates' question.
You don't just walk on in here and you just here's your citizenship. That's not how that works.
Okay, so then what do you think should be the qualifications to become a citizen?
There's like what would my perfect world be, or like what currently
your
are?
Perfect world.
Exactly the system we had 4 years ago, 2 years ago. That system works for me.
Do you think that you should just pay your way to be a citizen?
No,
Donald Trump does. Donald Trump does, by the way.
Well, maybe some people can pay to become a citizen if you have
enough money. So you should be a citizen if you're rich.
Awesome.
Awesome position. Explain that one.
I think that if you are of a net benefit, you're not a public charge.
What are you trying to say by net benefit? I think, listen, to be quite honest with you, I'd have a lot more respect with you if you were just mask off about your position. So about your honest.
What does that mean?
Be honest.
What are you accusing me of?
Be honest. Who's your favorite political pundit?
Who's my favorite political pundit? Oh, that's a great question. Are you familiar with John Doyle? Probably not. It's a little niche.
No, I know who John. That was just not an answer I expected. Huh? Okay, that works.
I think he's lying.
You think I'm lying, bro? Ask me a question. Ask me what favorite political.
You not know who John is?
No
That's
clue.
close enough to the answer you were looking for that it's fine.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
See, you don't know my guy. That makes me sad. Okay.
You got anything else? Any other?
Okay. Can you?
What do you think? What do you think?
I get it's like an appeal to
should
precedent.
poor people not get citizenship?
No, not even appeal to. What do you think the citizenship requirement should be then? You give me your idea.
I think that we should return. How about this? I'll accept your premise. We should return to what the system was before. I think that, at least as far as it pertains to the situation today, currently, that people who are likely to become a public charge should not be admitted into the United States. I don't think that's super controversial. I think it's a lot of
we're talking about immigration policy now. Not
wait. When you say likely become a public charge, is that what you said?
Yes.
What does that mean?
It means, I think it means what I said before.
That poor people shouldn't be given citizenship?
More out of the system than they are going to give into it.
Why don't we apply that same principle to American citizens that already rely on social safety nets?
Because, like you said before, if you
to me, it just looks like you're making an excuse to try and prevent a certain group of people from entering the country.
What group of people?
You tell me.
You're accusing
You mentioned what do you say? Tourism? What do you say?
Birth
tourism? Who uses that kind of fucking rhetoric, dude?
The DA in Suffolk County in Long Island, shout out Long Island, by the way, but there was a Chinese birth tourism ring that was busted, a fraudulent ring where it was being advertised in China as well as in Turkey, that you would be, if you are pregnant, it was advertised that they would fly you out for a fee to Suffolk County, Long Island, and you would give birth in a Long Island hospital, and then your child would become a citizen, and then because of people call it chain migration. I don't know if that's like a legal term, but
how often does that happen?
I don't know, but often enough because
No. So there's been multiple studies on this.
Bro, pull out the source.
Okay, sure.
Source me, bro.
I got you.
All right, you can pull up your source on this. My question is, it sounds like what you're describing. Like, look, a lot of people have an issue with it. He's gonna tell you how often it happens. Even if I accepted that, like, exactly what you're describing, the birth tourism, chain migration, which is like a thing that could happen. Like, our legal framework would allow for it. You can have a kid in this country that would become a citizen by birthright that could then sponsor you to get a green card. Right? That's a thing that it could occur with our legal framework. My issue with this entire position, every time anyone has this position, is that it seems like the thing then that you have a problem with is the second part of that chain, the sponsorship up of the child back to the parent. I'm cool with getting rid of that. If you want to get rid of that section, if let's say, well, for one, technically, that already doesn't work if you can just prove that that the situation is fraudulent. Like, if you could provide evidence that the parent traveled here to give birth, like, if you could provide evidence that this was the intent the entire time, you can just use that can be your excuse to deny the green card on the second part. But like, that part of the process I have an issue with. I have no clue, however, why you guys always go back to the citizenship portion. Is that not, like, for one, a billion times more complicated to redo our entire framework of citizenship over a very small issue?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think if we could solve...
It seems like you're targeting the wrong thing.
No, you're right. I think that if we could solve the immigration problem, I would not have an issue with
What's the immigration problem?
Structure. There are a lot of people who are coming here who are public
there were
charges.
zero undocumented immigrants that entered the country in the last 2 years. That's what I thought.
That might be the case, but there are at least 20 million who are still here.
That might be the case.
At least 20 million, according to what study?
What is it? What does the government say? You're the stats guy. Tell me what the government says.
Well, let's see what the government says. Kristi Noem, who has now been removed as the head of DHS, said under oath that 15 to 25 million illegal immigrants came in. The president of the United States said that 30 million illegal immigrants came in. It's almost as if that they're using these large numbers to manufacture consent so they can also make these arguments.
We use the buzzword manufacturing consent.
Yeah, they are manufacturing consent. That's exactly what they did.
That is technically the correct way to use it.
Did they not send people to a labor camp in El Salvador that they then justified by saying they were being invaded?
Did they do that? Maybe they did. Okay, that's not what I'm asking.
What do you mean maybe they did? That's what happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I'm asking about is
you've been freezing up a lot this entire conversation.
I'm a little nervous, okay? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's totally understandable. When you don't know nothing, you're going to tend to be nervous.
Bro, you told me to come up here. You were like, bro, can we get the Patriots up here talking about whatever? That's what I'm doing. I'm doing you guys a favor. I'm giving you some engagement. I'm trying to participate.
You are. I'm going to be posting it a lot. I'm not going to lie, so be ready. Be ready, be ready. Yeah.
I just don't understand this. I'm not can you clarify your 14th
I never brought up the study. Sorry, hold on.
I'm just not getting what you're putting forth here. What's your position as to the 14th, as to the citizenship clause? What do you think we should do with that?
Okay. Like you mentioned before, you made a good point, so I will accept it, which is that the citizenship structure we currently have is fine. Assuming that all of the people who have come into our country, let's say the 20 million, whatever it is, 11 million, 20 million, whatever, illegal immigrants who came into the country, if we were not worried about them being amnestied and becoming citizens when they are in my estimation, and seemingly in the estimation of many, given the election of Donald Trump, so I'm not speaking just for myself here, that they are viewed as being a public charge, of taking more from the system than they are giving back to it, of not adding to the American experience.
It's an incredibly important clarification. When you say this, are you talking about illegal or legal citizens, or all of them?
Say that again.
Illegal or legal or all? So what group are you referring to? Illegal immigrants, legal immigrants, or all immigrants?
About deporting illegal
No.
immigrants?
When you say public charge, who are you referring to?
Illegal immigrants.
Okay. So we have a shadow economy of over 8 million people who provides over $1 trillion in economic output, right? And over 100 billion, near 100 billion in
Yes,
taxes.
I am aware of that, although I do
don't you
believe
think
that
if
would
they're
suppress the wages of American citizens. No, is that not
so when
how
you
supply
expand
and
the
demand
labor
works?
force,
Labor economics?
Oh yeah, I'm about to fucking tell you. So when you expand the labor force and you bring in a whole bunch of individuals that are going to increase aggregate demand, what do you think that does? It creates an even greater incentive to expand, to meet the aggregate demand with the aggregate supply, right? So essentially, you are given an incentive when more people show up. There may be a ephemeral increase in prices for rental units. There could be downward pressure depending on the place. If these people work in hospitality, agriculture, construction, but at the same time, these individuals will increase the demand for those units. They will increase the demand for food. They'll increase the demand for services, and that will in turn create more jobs. The CBO released a study on this themselves. It's like trillions of dollars in economic output over the next couple of decades because of immigration. And they get paid a lot more, by the way, and you benefit from cheap wages as well, because that means that they don't have to raise prices. But again, if you want to change that, if you want them to get paid more, if you don't want them to be putting downward pressure on wages, you don't get rid of them and spend more money getting rid of a deficit. That's not how that works. When you spend more money, the deficit increases. You give them legal status. You give them that mobility so they can work a job, make more money, and keep on contributing to America to make your life better, which is exactly what they've been doing their entire life of being here.
So you do think that all the people who are here legally, who are residing in the country, should become citizens?
No.
So what percentage of them? Like
so citizens, there is multiple levels to legal status. You're not just automatically granted citizenship. They should not vote. But
okay, this is interesting. I've not heard this before.
They should be given legal permanent residency. But it all depends on what Congress is willing to come together and agree upon. But some level of legal status would rectify a lot of the issues that they tend to face in terms of treatment.
Okay, so why shouldn't they vote? I'm curious about that.
Because they entered the country illegally. Would you want the illegal immigrants to be voting?
No, I would not.
Okay, yeah.
But their children would be citizens and they would be voting. Correct.
Yes, because they're American citizens born in America that'll have an American education that hopefully respect the Constitution and don't change the definition of words like jurisdiction. Yeah.
Their parents didn't respect the Constitution.
Okay, and they're not voting.
They are raising their kids, though.
Okay, those illegal immigrants that make up the shadow economy, you're making them out to be like these really big, scary bad guys that are going to tell their kids, mijo, do not support the U.S. Constitution, mijo. I'm going to get so mad at you. I'm going to send you back to Mexico. That's not how that works. They're not crazy people. They came out of necessity to work a job. They're humans just like you and I.
Necessity. Is nobody else alive in the entire world besides in America?
It's almost as if...
It wouldn't even matter if that is exactly what was happening. The underlying principle here makes no sense. If I found out tomorrow that your dad was a rapist, should I throw you in jail?
No.
No, because you didn't do shit. So I'm not punishing you for some stuff that your parents did.
If I was to have a government-level policy that affected millions of people that was to discriminate as to whether people who categorically by their presence in the country are breaking the law and disrespecting our laws, norms, literally norms, like they're breaking our norms, that like we should like
you didn't
bring
vote for
them
Trump,
in,
did you?
give them legal status. I did, obviously.
Breaking our norms? You're mad about breaking norms and breaking the fucking law? Are you serious?
I was making a joke. You said norms. That's what I was talking about.
Lock in, bro. Lock in. I just find it so odd.
Still, that still doesn't address the underlying.
It doesn't make any. It's just a crazy contradiction.
It doesn't address the underlying concern there at all. Like, in what other circumstances will we ever punish a child for their parents' actions? There's no other circumstance we would ever do this. The moral principle doesn't track whatsoever. We would never.
None of it tracks. It's just a walking contradiction.
It's not a moral principle. It's a principle of management. We're a country. We're an organization.
To have the government take action against a person who did nothing, who didn't do the thing we're taking action against them for.
Should Jack Smith should Jack Smith have indicted Barron Trump for the crimes his father committed to try and overthrow our government? Come on, what's the problem? What's the problem?
Obviously not. That didn't
Why
happen,
not?
But
yeah, because we don't allow the government to go after people who didn't do the thing that they're going after them for.
Exactly.
This is like a very unique category of people. However, like. They have broken our laws, and you're going to give them legal status so their children who will,
give me a break. You can't say
retain...
they broke our laws like you have respect for the system when you voted for a 34-count convicted felon that tried to destroy
This is not addressing my point. I'm sorry.
No, it is addressing your point. You're a walking contradiction. No, it's not a fallacy.
That is a fallacy. That's a logical fallacy.
You are using the law to drive your position, and the fact that these individuals disrespected it is the greatest transgression, so you want them out of the country and you don't want their kids to have protections. But simultaneously, you voted for a 34-count convicted felon that is violating the law, that has killed American citizens, that is deporting people to labor camps, and now it's not a problem. That to me shows that you have an inexplicable aversion that you're not willing to show to everybody right now. That's the problem.
Listen, bro, you can point your finger at me, you can accuse me of things, but not really say what it is you're accusing me of.
I'm using your words against you. I'm not accusing you of anything.
Regardless, I think I made my point. I do appreciate you guys coming out here and talking with us. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Jeez. Have a good one.
Rough.
Listen,
yay.
That's it, right? We're wrapping it up. Listen, guys, we're wrapping it up. If you want us to continue doing this work all across the country and making America great, you donate and you vote. Donate at UnfuckAmericaTour.com. I love you all so much. Hopefully see you again. Peace out, everybody. Goodbye.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, let's give David and Andrew another round of applause. And give Marshall and his crew here another round of applause for helping bring the tour to campus. Hey. No, I'm just asking for applause. Oh, yeah. All right. Thank you all so much for coming out today.